Still not content with reviewing all 8 episodes of Disney Who 2024 on a weekly basis, JT and the Who-tastic panel now insist on subjecting us all to an entire season review. So here it is, the very best of Season 1 of Disney Who. This should be a very short show.
That's right, folks. It's over. 8 episodes of the first series of Russell T Davies's brand new vision for alleged Doctor Who. Dr. Disney is done. It's over. But is it in more ways than one? And is it worthy of this logo? Hello, Who viewers. Welcome back to Who's Views. How are you? It's nice to see you all. As usual, I am not alone here on the panel. Let's bring in the Who-tastic panel for this particular show. As I ask them these questions, we've got Third Doctor Ian, we've got Paul, and we've got Jodie. Hello to you lot.
Hello there. Hi.
Well, here we are then. We're on the other side. And yes, we're all a little bit sort of fatigued, I think is the nice way of putting all this, aren't we, guys? It's been a long journey, really, hasn't it, considering it was only 8 episodes?
A very long journey, yeah.
Very long journey.
Yeah,
it's not called Dr. Disney for nothing, and that's a very Scottish wonder. But,
well, listen, it's great to see you all. Go on, Ian.
I imagine this is how it feels when an enema wears off. You know, it's worked its way through, and now you just
2 minutes into the show.
There's a great sense of relief, is what you're implying.
Well, it's lovely to see you all. It's lovely to see everybody in the chat as well. If you're not into the chat yet, come and join us in the chat and let us know what you thought of Series 1. We're going to be looking at the 8 episodes here. By God, if we are going to. Yes, indeed. But before we do that, let's have some happy news, shall we, everybody? Let's have some really happy news. I want to say, again, as usual, a huge thank you to everybody that's been getting in touch this week via our whosviews1@gmail.com email address or through comments. We've had a lot of comments on the shows we've been doing this week. If you haven't seen the comments, go and have a look, because sometimes they make me laugh. But I just want to say hello to everybody. I want to say hello to Michael Sheridan, Helen Ashworth, Rebecca Wright, to Jason, 21st Century Boy, to Edwin Drood, Lex, to Mr. S. Rogerson, nice to see you, thank you, Michael Webster, Tidy Boy, Richard Hussey, Agent Smith Meme, Alfie Fitzbox, Peter Harrington, Brian Chiavarella, I'm sorry if I said that wrong, I probably have, Debs Thomas, no relation, The Legion of James, Matten Spiel, Hanwa 75, Triple Jazz Musician, Tracy Sponge, I think that's a made-up name, but I liked it. But thanks, Tracy. Hap Kidalock, Avon Blake. We know what series you like. Doris Day. God bless you, Doris. Love your work. Clive Simpson, Chrissy Wills, and The Truth Is Up There. And I just want to say to Chrissy and The Truth Is Up There, no, you are not alone. You are not alone. You've got us here at Who's Views. You are not alone. So thank you so much for your lovely comments and getting in touch, everybody. I also want to say a huge thank you to Colin Smith, because Colin sent us a piece of artwork he's done, guys, to celebrate the end of Disney Who 1, RTD 2-1, whatever you want to call it. I love it, though. I absolutely love it. Oh, honey, I'm so sorry. Mr. Gammon can't see visitors today. The doctor has him scheduled for a touching grass therapy session. So
nice one, Colin.
Isn't that good?
Yeah.
I love that. So thank you
so
much.
Him wearing that next season as well.
It's only a matter of time, Ian. Surely he's worn everything else.
Surprise you, would it? Really?
No, if they ever do an episode set in a hospital again, yes.
Yeah.
It could be that one, couldn't it? And seeing as RTD seems to be regurgitating ideas, it's a matter of time. But thank you for that, Colin. That gave me a wee chuckle. So thank you very much for that one. And I also now want to say a huge thank you to a regular viewer, Dino V and Romana 3. You may remember a few weeks ago, Dino V and Romana 3, his daughter, were watching us and watching the show. It was lovely to see you both. But, and I've got permission for this just to point out, thank you very much for sending this picture of Romana 3 with Anita Dobson. Look at that.
Oh, lovely. That's really nice.
Cracking
isn't it?
photo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
With Romano 4, obviously, there.
Okay, well, yeah, it could be. Lots of speculation who Anita is playing, of course, but I just thought that was lovely. So thank you so much. And I'm glad you got to meet her. She's a lovely lady, isn't she, Anita? She's really nice, very soft-spoken. So I hope you enjoy meeting her, Romana. And who do you think she's playing in the show? Did she tell you? Did she give you any tidbits? Let me know. Let me know. All right, then. Fun's over. Here we go. Here we go. Then the fun is over. We are here to talk about with you all in the chat as well. Nice to see you all. Thanks for joining us, everybody. We are here to talk about. Sorry, I'm not going to get through this at all. But we're here to talk about that thing that we've put ourselves through. If you've been watching, and I know you've all been joining us. Thank you so much for joining us over the last several weeks as we looked at 8 episodes, the brand new version of Doctor Who. Let's start with a look at and a recap of what the Whotastic panel voted for on each episode on our scores on the TARDIS Doors feature, shall we? Now, remember, there's usually 5 of us on the panel, and Kirsty will be joining us a little bit later on for this show. There's usually 5 of us on the panel. We all get 10 points each for each episode. All right, here we go then. This is what we all voted for. Space Babies got 3.5. The Devil's Board got 4.5. Boom got 21. 73 Yards got 29. Dot and Bubble got 19. Rogue, 6. The Legend of Ruby Sunday got 25. And the Empire of Death got 6. So we have to say, if you can really say it, congratulations to 73 Yards, which came out top here on Who's Views from the Whotastic panel. And a much try harder for Space Babies, which got 3.5. It goes without saying, Who viewers, doesn't it, that these are the lowest scores that the Whotastic panel has ever presented to any episode of Doctor Who. Even those alleged specials got more than that. But it kicks us off very nicely, doesn't it? I want to say, guys, what went wrong? Who's going to start us off?
Well, can I just say something? When we started the show and you put up that lovely kind of homage to the 70s Doctor Who with that lovely Who's Views kind of BBC What's Coming Next Doctor Who-wise logo at the start. Really, really nice. And that picture of Ncuti and Millie looks really, really nice. And you could imagine them advertising the next story, maybe twerking of the Daleks or something like that, perhaps.
Twerking of the Daleks. It dreads to think. Oh, I don't know. I mean, we've got to stop giving them ideas, everybody. Stop giving them ideas. But yeah come on then. Oh, Paul saying straight away, Ian, look at this. This is what went wrong. and Neville saying to us everything.
What went wrong was they made it. They made it. They cast him. They gave it to the other him to make it, thinking that it would be an improvement because it was literally cancelled, despite their denials, and it was everything that it shouldn't have been, and it doubled down on what went before. And when they were going to can it, they were going to can it because what had gone before was rubbish.
Yeah.
And so to double down on it was doubling down on rubbish. And it's the old adage, you can't polish a turd. You can't. And all we got was more of the same. And it was just, it ruined every possible element of Doctor Who that it took on, you know, right to the end with Sutek. It was embarrassing, you know, from start to finish. Starting with Space Babies was, you know, even now you look back and you think, what the hell was that? Really? What was it? Babies talking in a creepy way in self-propelled pushchairs. I mean, seriously, I don't know. They should always look as if they were bringing it back in 2005 for the first time, and would it run on that? And if they'd started 2005 with Space Babies, you would have never probably seen the end of the series, let alone a second series or anything like that. And it was taking the audience for granted, and it was just making a joke of it. It was treating the source material with an incredible lack of respect from somebody who is an arch narcissist, and it was awful. That's me.
Joe, would you agree with that?
Yeah, I almost don't know where to start. I mean,
Yeah.
as a really long-term Doctor Who fan, I was used to having the mick taken out of me, you know, in the 80s. You got a lot of hassle for loving Doctor Who, and I never felt embarrassed about defending it, ever. The problem we've got is they're actually treating kids like they're dumb now, which I really object to strongly, because the stories were unhinged, they didn't make sense, they were ill thought out. He obviously is making things up as he goes along. You can tell that.
Yeah.
There's just so much wrong with it. And I find it really surprising that here we are in the supposedly enlightened 2024 era, and they're using it to push agendas that could conceivably be damaging to young people. And that worries me a lot. I just feel that isn't the place for it. It's a kids program. It's meant to be a kids program. For the I'm going to be honest here, you know, for the kids that were like geeky like me, who didn't always fit in the right places and maybe struggled sometimes socially to just have their own people around them. This was a safe place for me, and they've made it not a safe place. They've actually deliberately tried to alienate me, and that actually is incredibly hurtful if you've been a fan this long.
Well, it is, isn't it? I mean, we are going to be coming to that a lot more, obviously, because we have to accept that for us four old gammons here, as we are called, this version of Doctor Who, apparently, allegedly, doesn't want us. Now, we've been told that since 2017, and look what the mess they got into it there. So we are going to be coming to that very shortly, because it involves some of you lot out there watching us as well. It's not for you anymore, is it? We've got all that to come along.
But Justin, that in itself, you would never say to a kid in a school, such and such is not for you. You would never do that, because that's horrific. That is really exclusionary. And we're all supposed to be about inclusion these days and making sure that everyone feels valued for whatever they bring to the party. And to me, to make anything excluding a group of people is it's evil. Actually, it's evil.
It's kind of a bit of a cliche, but Doctor Who has always been for 5 to 95. You know, that was kind of the spectrum of it. You don't have to narrow the audience, which is a really crazy thing to do anyway if you're trying to create a new audience. You want to have everyone involved to keep that support, build it up, and bring in the younger people as well if you want to, but keep the audience you have if you can. It's crazy.
Do you remember, guys, when, Paul, you're absolutely right. Do you remember when the show was actually labelled the family show for all ages, or the children's show for all ages? Do you remember when we had that? And the BBC were very proud of that, weren't they? They may not have looked at Doctor Who, you know, they may not have invested in it like they should have done, but they kept it going for 26 years, let's say 26 years, until the change in styles at the end, because through all those years, they knew it had an audience, they knew it was good drama, and they knew that it was bringing people in and that it catered for everybody. And we've got those famous sayings of Tom's as well, wasn't it? You know, you'd have all the family around. Enjoying the thrill of the stories. We didn't get that on this, did we?
If you look back in the 70s, I think right up until the 1970s, I don't know exactly when it folded, but there was a big newspaper in the London area, I think, called the Daily Sketch.
Oh yes, of course. Didn't Tom write for that at some point as well?
Possibly, but there was a regular staff writer there called Gerard Garrett, and he had a quote, and it was Doctor Who, the show for the kids that adults adore.
That's right. That's where I've got that from.
It was such a famous quote, and I'm missing a few words in that, but it went on the back of a lot of the Target covers, the early Target covers. So if you look at the original imprint of, say, Terror of the Autons or something like that, or Auton Invasion, Spearhead from Space, it'll be there, Gerard Garrett's quote, the children's program that adults adore, or whatever, and quoted to him and the Daily Sketch. And that's how it always was, from Hartnell right up to Survival. And it isn't that anymore. It never needed to demand an audience. It never needed to state it was for a specific audience. And the problem they've got now, if they're making it so exclusionary whilst preaching inclusion, then if the audience they've gone for doesn't like it, they're stuffed because they won't get anybody back.
No.
Not with that. They have royally screwed it, and that will be its epitaph.
Again, yeah.
I mean, this is what gets me, everybody, you know, and who viewers as well. This is what gets me. They had a massive failure under Chibnall, and the viewing figures, as we know, went down and down and down and down. Doctor Who fans disappeared and disappeared and disappeared. We know about all of that. And yet they came back with this nonsense. Huge thank you to everybody that's in the chat with us this evening. And Paul, thank you so much again for your super chat there with the super sticker. I hope you're enjoying that. He's given us that. So thank you so much. Really appreciate that. Keep your comments coming, everybody. We want to know what you hear. Think about this. Been putting a lot of the comments up. This one from Michael is just so Michael, Mr. Q. That is so you, isn't it? And he's telling everybody, Russell T. Davis is that is so you, my friend. But thank you for joining us here. What else we got? Richard is here with us saying, I would like to say that I cancelled Doctor Who in its current form long before they tried to cancel it for me, because as Jodie said, the agenda is indeed evil. It's certainly very questionable. The fact that, you know, they're pushing all this sort of stuff which, you know, shouldn't be in this sort of television, whether it be family drama like Doctor Who is supposed to be, and certainly in children's television, and yet especially with the BBC, it blooming is. It's all there, and they feel that they're just riding the crest of a wave, don't they, in Doctor Who, obviously?
Well, I mean, carry on.
I was going to say, but talking about being a member of the audience, Joe, you kind of mentioned it earlier on before we came on, but I didn't get a chance to agree with you. But I grew up with Doctor Who through my family. My family loved it when I was before I was born. They watched it before I was born. And then when I was born and growing up, I watched it with them, you know. So my family got me into that. So it was very much a family affair watching Doctor Who for me as a kid. And I loved it like that. And I think that's what it still should be. And I still amazing me. It's mind-boggling that they didn't consider that to be a very important part of the process of bringing in an audience. It's just crazy.
It's just, I don't feel there's actually that many family shows out there. There isn't a lot that fits into that slot. And I mean, I watched it with my kids. They're 14 and 16. They were well able to handle the themes and the issues. And I have no problem with them seeing those themes and issues. But I have to say, if I could rewind a few years, I watched New Who with them, and I didn't feel uncomfortable at any point. For some reason, Captain Jack, for me, didn't cross boundaries. I don't know why. I don't know why he didn't cross boundaries for me, but he didn't. I felt it was light enough touch that although I would have still kept Doctor Who completely asexual by choice. That's my choice, and I still think that would be the right way to go with it. I didn't actually feel uncomfortable watching the Captain Jack stuff with my kids, but I've got to say, if I'd been sitting watching this with them and they were 7 and 9, I would have been dying inside a little. I would have felt really uncomfortable. And
I know what you mean, because there are shows where you should be, as a parent, as an adult, not forced to approach issues or bring up issues that a television show has forced you into that situation. You should be able to tell youngsters about certain things when you want them to know and when you're comfortable to do it.
Absolutely. And can I just say, we discuss everything, Justin.
Yes.
We discuss everything.
Yeah. And that's honest and open. But here and what we seem to have had with the last few years of Doctor Who is you've got certain social issues of today being cropped up throughout the shows, which in my point of view is also going to date this series. I keep saying about these new versions of Doctor Who, you're not going to be able to watch them in 50 years time like you can the original Doctor Who. 63 to 89 is timeless because it doesn't push all this narrative. And if it does, in a very small way that it does, very, very, it's not frequent like it is today. It's done in a science fiction way. So it's quite clever how it's done. So it doesn't date the show. Graham is here with us saying in the chat, I stomached it up until Rogue, but that wasn't enough for me. No interest in whatever this program is now, because it certainly isn't anything like the show I loved, especially back in the day. Paul is saying to us here, Paul Holgate is saying to us, people won't keep it going now because they've driven off the loyal fans. Yes, and Paul, we're going to be talking more about their insistence that they've got new fans in there. We're going to be coming to that very shortly, so stay with us. And Charles Highgrove is joining us. Hello, Charles. Nice to see you. Thank you for joining us here on Who's Views. He's questioning a lot what we're saying here. He says he's confused and he wants to know, why isn't Doctor Who suitable for kids now?
Right. Can I just say here, because I really believe what I say here. When I was growing up, Doctor Who was someone who was a safe person. In education, for example, to be a safe person, you do not inflict others with your views on religion or sex. That is how you are a safe person, because you let children make up their own minds about these things by informing them about the wider world and not influencing them as to what your beliefs are. I had a child once ask me, she said to me in my class, I don't believe in the dinosaurs. I believe in the Bible and God creating the earth. And I said, you are totally entitled to believe that, but I have to teach you what scientists believe. And when I did an RE class, I would teach the Bible aspect. I'm going to be honest and say here that I feel that's a very fine line, and you have to be very careful about drawing that line and never stepping over it. And I feel, unfortunately, and I'm going to say it probably started here with, I love Paul McGann, but it started with Paul McGann's Doctor.
Yeah.
I didn't like that. I just felt the Doctor was meant to be a safe person for kids. Therefore, they were not meant to be sexual. There are enough kids that are abused in this world that they don't need to see that aspect in their superhero. And he is their superhero. He was a superhero that, because he was an alien, he didn't have that quantity to him. And I think, personally, that's why he worked so well as a UK superhero. And I thought we actually did so well there. And I'm just really incredibly disappointed that they've done this. And it's brought up so many facets that, whilst I'm comfortable speaking to it with my teenagers, I just feel, it would be a lot more challenging for younger kids. And actually, some of it's quite inappropriate for younger kids now.
Yeah. Can I just point out, Charles is also saying to us, I came here for the season 1 chat. I am lost with this stuff. Well, this is what they've given us. This is a season overview of that version of Doctor Who they've just given us, Charles. So that's what we're here to do. We're here to talk about it. And this is important because this is all the stuff that they've put in here. We're going to be talking, I'm going to be talking about RTD's lack of ability to write a script now, because a lot of it was very, very lazy. The fact that he's recycling ideas. The guys have got their own points to put in, and so will people in the chat. But that was series 1 we've just had. For me, I can't retain any of that I've just watched over the 8 episodes because it was just instantly forgettable, Paul.
Yeah, well, I was going to say in relation to whether it's about kids watching and what's appropriate or not. I've seen some fans with kids on various forums and whatever online saying that sometimes they've been concerned about watching with younger kids. They've watched the episode beforehand to see whether or not it's appropriate for them to watch, which I think is really difficult. If you have to do that, I have to watch it twice for a start, which is I did, which is quite traumatic in itself. But it is kind of a hard thing to take on board if you have to vet the program first before your kids get to see it, because you're concerned there might be something in it that's actually inappropriate to watch for a certain age group. That's worrying.
We've had people come onto the show, haven't we? And whether it be our reviews or headlines or what have you, actually saying that's what they're going to do now. They're going to watch it before they actually allow their children to. And if they decide this isn't suitable for my children, they're not watching it. Now, that's not what Doctor Who was ever going to be. And it does seem to me that what they've done here is very lazy, and it's just the usual stuff of pushing out, we've got these messages that we as extreme left-wing ideologists believe in, so we're going to put it into Doctor Who. Because Paul, what RTD say right at the very beginning of this stuff? They have to get to the children. Where was that from?
I think that was on Unleashed. They have to get to the children to get across these messages so they are educated about things. I think that particularly was in reference to I think the issue with Yasmin Finney regarding the trans issue that were in Star Beast. That was on I think on Unleashed on that, and there was a reference to that about educating children about these issues, basically. So.
Which is a parent's right, not a television show, and not a science fiction drama that's supposed to be for everybody. Because what this show has done now, hasn't it, guys? Through this series especially, it's built on what they inherited, tripled down, and then triple locked on it, and alienated even more. The British public, as I've said, continue over the last 7 weeks. don't care about this show anymore. They have long gone. They did what Ncuti Gatwa said, and they've gone out and touched grass because they just really don't care in this show at all. Daryl is with us. Hello, Daryl. It's nice to see you. RTD can't write sci-fi. He has a very limited range within his interest in social issues. He's no Nigel Neal. He's been led to believe in his own unwarranted myth. Well, I'm going to say, well said there, Daryl.
Yeah,
totally believe that. And I mean, this, Ian, this was bad news, really, because when this was announced, a lot of people were on the fence with this, weren't they? A lot of fans were going, "Oh, great, we might get something like Series 4 again, or 1 to 4." Others were a bit, "Oh, I don't know." Personally, I was in that case where I thought, "Oh, well, this could be good," and then I started listening to all his ranting and raving, and I just thought, "Oh no!" And then as we got those Tenant things, I thought, "Oh, this is terrible." And I have to be honest, this is a flop. And they're covering it up. They are covering it up left, right, and centre.
They are.
Yeah,
I never thought it could be worse than the Jodie era, but it really is, and that's saying something. And I keep saying that, and I feel like a broken record, but I can't believe I'm saying this. You know,
I just feel they had so much scope. If they wanted to push agendas, they could do that through the companions. I just feel doing it through Doctor Who was incredibly wrong.
I was very, I was so full of hope when Russell, and obviously knew about his rants and things, but I hoped it was going to be the big fix. But I think from him stepping down around 2000, when was it, 2010, when he stood down to 2020, in that 10, 11-year gap, I think he's changed a lot, and he comes across as a very, very, very bitter and nasty little man. And he just has agendas to push, and that is all he's going to do. And he's been a huge bitter disappointment, but he won't care.
No.
And you know what? I don't care about him. I honestly don't care. He is going to ultimately fail, and he'll just bring this whole thing crashing down even further than he already has, although it doesn't have that far to go now before its figures are in minus numbers. But if he's doing it for this audience that they want, then this isn't the audience that watches BBC One, so it should go on to one of the BBC's niche channels. But I agree with everything you said, Jodie, absolutely every word. And it did go back to McGann with the 2 episodes of Snobbing. It opened it up, and it went right through. We saw it right at the end of Eccleston's era, where he could only fix Rose by kissing her. I mean, Jesus Christ. And then, you know, Tennant with various things, and Madame de Pompadour, for example. You had Matt Smith with Amy, where if that had been the other way around, it would have been a serious sexual assault. What Amy did with the Doctor, Christ knows why that was written in there, but that's Moffat thinking he can do whatever he likes. And then it went through, and we got Whittaker with the faux lesbian thing, the bed in the console room. And now we've got this, where, well, we had the specials, didn't we, where Tennant's Doctor now fancies men, and we're race swapping people, and then Gatwa is basically undressing with his eyes and virtually dropping to his knees, salivating at the sight of any old bloke that goes by. And it's just, that is not, you always could leave your kids, or as a child, be left watching Doctor Who. Family would watch it with you, but if, you know, whatever reason it was on and you were watching it, they'd have no issues about leaving you watching that. It was safe. It isn't safe anymore, and it hasn't been for a long time. And
the safeness was also about the ridiculousness, I've got to say, of the monsters, because they were scary, but they weren't real. And that was the point. You could hide behind the sofa, and you could be scared of those monsters, and you could know going to bed those monsters weren't real. And I just feel there are other programs that cover the things they want to cover, and that cover the ideas they want to promote. And I've got to say, I love Torchwood. And I thought Torchwood was a great adult spin-off of Doctor Who. And that was the place for those things. And that was fine. I have no issue with that.
I'm going to say to you, and we'll talk about this in a sec, because I've got to get to the chat, but what monsters in this season? I didn't really see anything at all, apart from one, which we'll all know what that is. John was saying to us there, the Paul McGann kiss started the slippery slope. Totally safe male hero, yes, Jodie. Charles Highgrove, does she mean the kissing? It's not just the kissing, it's the fact they've sexualized the Time Lord.
Yeah, it's the sexualization. Horrible.
It's absolutely ridiculous. He shouldn't be sexually active or sexually aware. He's a Time Lord. And for our age group as well, this is why we can't see the Doctor necessarily, because they've now humanized him completely.
Yeah.
And this was Russell T Davis's main intention. He wanted to really, really, really make the Doctor what he said was more relatable for a younger audience. So this is why every 20 minutes he's blubbing everywhere, because apparently the youngsters watching the show today are wimps blubbing everywhere.
Well, I'm really
It's
glad he got his
nonsense.
crying module at drama college. That I'm really impressed with that.
Well, it's just ridiculous. And now I've heard this week that apparently because Ncuti found the schedule so tiring, he wants to allegedly make it more an ensemble piece like he was used to on Sex Education. That's not Doctor Who. You are playing Doctor Who. You are playing the Doctor. It's his show. And you are the main character. Do the job or bugger off the show. It's simple. It's common sense, isn't it, really, when it comes to that? Thank you, everybody, for everything you're saying in the chat. Let's go and see what you're saying here. Paul Ashworth is saying to us here, RTT has numerous times tried to inflict his atheism on us. He needs to stop trying to make people into carbon copies of his own lack of belief system. It's not just that, it's every other
belief system.
I think he's got to be able to show two sides, as you were saying, Jodie, in your teaching. You have to show two sides of the argument to give a balanced view to the audience. And if he doesn't do that, that's when it becomes like the BBC allegedly.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I don't think you can inflict your views on a developing mind. I really don't. I believe in that so much. And I believe that you do damage, actually, because if kids look up to you and they want to emulate you, you cannot take that liberty of thinking you are right about everything. That is just wrong.
And yet these people in entertainment are doing it. We've seen it this very week on our headline shows where we've been discussing it. They think that they are all these multimillionaires in the show business industry, and there are many of them, look down on the rest of us and say, no, the minions need told what they must think and how they must act. Paul, before I come to you, let's get to some of the chats. Michael Strelitz, nice to see you. Thanks for joining us. Welcome to Who's Views. This is why the younger generation are mucked up in the head when it comes to sexuality. Well, actually, I think it's because, yes, certain adults of a certain age who should know better have brought in all this NB and all this nonsense stuff. It's all fiction. It's all ideology. It's all come through from idiot kids that at the turn of the century were doing whatever they were calling it, gender studies allegedly or whatever at university, and they've come out with all this fiction. It's absolutely ridiculous. And now we've got people who are who show running shows in their 60s thinking, oh, to be really relevant, I must throw all this into my show and preach all this. Domgo is saying, I agree that the rot set in with McGann, but I still think Rogue went over the score, as for the first time the Doctor acted like a complete tart. Totally did. And
that's very true. Yeah.
But it was written that way as well, wasn't it? Absolutely written. And Lex is here to say, I was fortunate to watch classic Doctor Who on the 30th anniversary. I got to see all the actors who played the Doctor and got to see Genesis of the Daleks. And the third Doctor's Sea Devil story is fantastic. The problem is we're never going to see that sort of stuff again, are we? We're not going to get that.
No.
Paul Ashworth is saying 73 yards was okay. And Charles is coming back to say to us, everybody, I don't know. I don't see anything sexual, just some bad writing. Well, hang on a sec. You don't.
Well, you saw two blokes tonguing each other with Ncuti holding the other guy tightly at the back of the head to pull him closer in. And, you know, if they'd had half a moment, they'd have been somewhere else completely doing something completely different. And
I totally agree.
Over the console, allegedly, yes.
I mean, you're right, Ian. Look at this bit. I said this at the time of Rogue. That is salacious and that is lust. That's all that is. That's sheer look at the way the Doctor, the alleged Doctor, is grabbing that is not even alien. That is played as a human being. This is where Ncuti got it wrong for me. And I was terrified at that point because I'm with JNT. Good old JNT. No hanky-panky in the TARDIS ever. Yeah. He squashed all that very masterfully and very carefully back in the 80s. This new lot have come in since 2005 going, oh, maybe there could be. That makes my flesh crawl because that's not the Doctor. Ever. It's not the Doctor at all.
I just find it. Well, it's really ironic, I feel, that we're sitting in a situation where in the 1970s, apparently all sorts of bad things were going on with kids. All sorts of bad things. I mean, we had many personalities who were high up doing really, questionably awful things. And here we are watching this program, and there's very little about consent or anything like that. It is, as you say, played with lust by an alien. It's just wrong.
Written and played. And I just don't like that at all. I really don't like the way that they've done that. And I know that an actor does what he's told. So whatever the showrunner,
but
the producer, whatever says, but it does come from that writing. But there's an element here of actually not getting the character right from the play acting side of it as well. And I know it's his first series, but if you understand the Doctor and you're confident, surely an actor should turn around and say, my Doctor's not going to do that. I'm not comfortable with that. Austin is saying to us here, RTD is a TV writer. What does he know about what is best for children?
It's also the persona of the actor, because going back to influencing people or children, whatever, when Tom was the Doctor, he made all attempts to not be seen drinking or smoking and behaving in a really favourable way that made him look better. And he didn't kind of come on TV and give over his politics, etc., etc. And I think that's part of the problem with our new Doctors, because he's very prominent in the various magazines, giving his opinion, his sexuality, etc. So everything's out now, if you pardon the expression. And it's a bit kind of worrying that all this is not kind of kept more behind the scenes to make him more of a character actor, in the same way that Patrick Troughton described himself as an actor. You know, if you become too forward to the public as yourself, you can't, suspend disbelief that you're this character, if that makes sense.
It does make sense. And as Jodie has said before on one of the review shows we had, RTD has forgotten what Doctor Who is and who the Doctor is. Charles is saying to us, wasn't River's song a bit sexual? So let's address that quite right. Yes, and that was wrong as well. Because that was still the Doctor reacting sexually to another character. He's an asexual Time Lord from the planet Gallifrey in the constellation of Kerberos. That's who the Doctor is. And all this stuff has been ushered in since 2005 because that's what they think the public want. No, they don't. I reckon it's just nowadays, it's just for an absolute minority of label-loving, flag-waving loons. And that's who seems to have loved this show. Lynn is with us. Hello, Lynn. Nice to see you. I believe you are here in the UK. Welcome, 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 welcome. I don't have kids, but if I did, she says, I would never let them watch it. Well said, Jodie. Problem Being is with us. Hello, Lee. Nice to see you, mate. Yes, River was, and it was all part and parcel of the Fitzroy Creek's plan. Yeah, there's a story there. We all know about that. And Paul H is saying to us, McGann got away with the kiss because it was very quick and it was the exuberance of regaining his memory. And he was so damn good as a Doctor.
Oh, he was.
He was, yeah.
But then right at the very end, right at the very end of the special, he tongued her again outside the TARDIS with the fireworks going off in the background. That was completely unnecessary. That was very Americanized, I think.
But I think that's the problem.
It's not like a train going through a tunnel, it's not like that.
But that's the problem. It is Americanized. They've never understood British culture, and they certainly don't understand Doctor Who, and that's the problem. Because we compartmentalize, and I think we compartmentalize for very good reasons. America, I'm sorry, but they're not very good at that. They just want to Americanize everything. And there are shows that do this very well. Lucifer is a show that does this very well.
Yeah,
but Lucifer is an adult audience,
Absolutely,
but it's also sort of cultish as well, isn't it? Whereas Doctor Who in the United Kingdom, the brilliant thing about Doctor Who is it's on BBC One, on national alleged broadcaster. It's always been there for anybody that wants to watch it. It's always been there for all ages. Anybody that wants to dip in, anybody that's getting ready to go out, that sort of age group. For your grandparents and everything, it was there. Now it's not, because people are switching off in their droves because it's for a minority audience that tend to scream.
Yeah.
I want to say hello and welcome to Who's Views to Silk Vampy. Great name, also known as SK. Pink TARDIS for promotion and at Disney in Disneyland. What do you think about it? It's also trashy. I think it's like a joke. This is a nice podcast. And hello from Germany. Well, it's nice to see you. Thank you very much for joining us. Lovely, lovely to see you. I want to, before we get onto that, I want to get onto a story this is a story that's broken just over the weekend here, which touches on this. And this is from the radiotimes.com. God bless them. Let's see what you make of this. Doctor Who's ratings are a success for Russell T Davies in a way that's crucial to its future. The show needs to focus on its younger audience. It continues. While the future of Doctor Who is already confirmed in the short term, with the show returning for a Christmas special this year and another season next year, that's already in the can, by the way. Beyond that, things are currently less certain. This is because the show's fate in its current form rests with Disney Plus, who the BBC did a deal with for the new era. Not only does Disney distribute the series internationally, it also helps to finance it, meaning that while the show could continue with the streamer, its budget may have to be slashed. No big deal as far as I'm concerned. The question of the show's future following what has been described as season 14's underwhelming ratings was raised in a recent article in the Times, and now the BBC has weighed in. A BBC spokesman told the publication overnight ratings no longer provide an accurate picture of all those who watch drama in an on-demand world. This season of Doctor Who premiered on iPlayer nearly 24 hours before broadcast, and episode 1 has already been viewed by nearly 6 million viewers and continues to grow. Doctor Who remains one of the most watched programmes on iPlayer and is the BBC's top drama for under 35s this year, making it one of the biggest programmes for the demographic across all streamers and broadcasters. This statement lines up with a comment previously made by filmmaker Russell T Davies, who said, "In coming back, I wanted to make it simpler and I wanted to make it younger. Those two things are often not discussed. You read reactions to it and people are missing out. It's simpler and younger, and it is working. The under 16s and the 16 to 34 audience as well is massive. It's not doing that well in the ratings, but it is doing phenomenally well with the younger audience that we wanted." Okay, now we've talked about this before, guys, haven't we, on headlines, especially this very week, and we've actually disproved that 6 million figure through Bedweir's rating analysis. So if you want to go and see that, go and have a look at the headlines we've done this week. Thank you very much. And we're also going to be doing, obviously, a little bit more coming up about that. Thank you, Bedweir, because I know you'll be watching. But I was thinking, that article there, guys, as I said at the top of the show, is actually basically saying to all of us here on the panel, you three, me, the majority of all of us in the chat, Doctor Who is no longer for you. This isn't for you. It's now written, acted, performed, directed, produced for a younger audience, as that has been said there, which seems to me a little bit desperate. And I thought, well, who do we know that was available and that could come onto the show to talk about this? Who fits into that age group? So, of course, our very own Kirsty, lady of the chat, is with us. Hello, hello. She fits into that age group, everybody. Oh, yeah. How are you? All right?
I'm alive. I'm good. How are you guys?
We're all right. And we're glad that you're here. And also to bring on as well, who also is in the age group, please welcome to Who's Views, Emilio. Hello.
Hey, nice to meet you guys.
Nice to see you. Nice to see you. So you and Kirsty are here to tell us about your take. You're joining the show to tell us about your take as the youth that this show is aimed at. Now, Kirsty, you've been joining us obviously for all the shows, and you've not been impressed at all. Emilio, let's start with you then on this. From that article of the Radio Times, what was your take on this series?
It was awful. It was absolutely terrible. Just from start to finish. I think
you're not supposed to say that. You're supposed to say you love it.
No, you're wrong.
Oh yeah,
you're wrong.
No. Well, you know, I honestly, I still don't know who the 16 to 34, 35-year-old they're targeting. I personally feel it targeted a group of, I would say, activists rather than, let's say, people my age who watched the first RTD run and have, I guess, watched the second run. And if you compare the two, just by merit on a storytelling basis, chalk and cheese, absolutely chalk and cheese. I mean, I'm not going to compare to Classic Who as a separate thing, but if you just compare what RTD did in 2005 versus now, yeah, doesn't even touch it. It's not even close. And I think that says it all, really. So for my generation, you know, with the viewing figures, I think there's a lot of spin, to be honest. I think they're just clutching at straws just because, to try and save face. We already know that the ratings are on the floor, and basically, in all honesty, Doctor Who need to be put to rest for a good 10 years. It won't be, because they'll drag it down. You know, they'll keep it going. But I think we all know that's what it needs. It needs to go away. And then, so my generation who have kids, if it comes back in 10, 15 years with a different, you know, showrunner, etc., they can bring their kids into it. But at the moment, I wouldn't even, if I had kids, I definitely wouldn't want to push them into this new era. I'd just take them to what Classic Who and some of the old New Who stuff.
Wow. Russell T Davis, I hope you are watching. This is your age group here. Kirst, too harsh or spot on from Emilio there?
Oh, yeah, hit the nail on the head. Bang on. I just think, yeah, Russell's just aiming it for activists, not actually people in our Emilio and I's kind of age bracket. He's trying to be too cool. He's trying to be all like hip and down with the kids as well, and it's not working. And it really does it does need to be put to rest. It does need to have a bit of time to put to rest. Its watch has been done. Its watch is over. It can pass the torch on and just simmer down and die for a wee while, and let this kind of whatever's going on with the media, hopefully it changes, or there's some sort of renaissance, and maybe it can come back in 10, 15 years time as well. But I don't know what's going on with Russell right now at all. And he doesn't speak for Emilio and I, and we're actually sane people of that age category. And we'll welcome you all and accept you all, but yeah, he's just aiming for the activists. And it is the same with like the Marvel and Star Wars as well. They're not actually aiming it for the fans, or aiming it just to please blue-haired whales that Caesar says with the dolly programs as well. And just so it's a media game. I was mentioning to Garbage this morning as well over something else, and it is that some of them have to see these certain things, otherwise they are going to get turned round the back by Russell or like Kevin Feige and told to if they don't say the correct thing and told the line. It is a media.
Everything
allegedly.
Taken out of humanly killed, allegedly, yes.
Allegedly,
yeah.
Fired. Let's put it that way. Let's say that one. Let's say that one.
Can I ask a question, though? If this was aimed at 16 to 30, if that's the age group, who was Space Babies aimed for? Was that CBBC? What was that? You know,
not even that. Should have been CBBC. CBB maybe. But...
I'll tell you who I think it's aimed at. I think it's aimed at the sad few of us who do sometimes enjoy car crash television. And I certainly recommend it to people. If you want to watch something that's so bad, you will sit there and go, really? That's Space Babies, in my opinion.
Space Babies, yeah.
It's horrendous. And it's embarrassingly bad. But it's actually, you kind of keep watching it because it's so bad. You can't believe someone thought this was primetime television.
I think bizarrely, as you were saying, GT, earlier on, that Russell has repeated himself a bit, and he had this idea of let's do a light-hearted opening episode like Partners in Crime or New Earth or something like that. New Earth I hated, I have to say, but Partners in Crime I quite liked. The Adipose story was quite funny. But this one, I think, was, for 8 episodes, said this before, was probably the wrong one to start with. To bring in an audience. And it had a lot of potential. This game was such a scary story. Maybe I've got a black mentality, but the bogeyman should have been more sinister, and maybe like Ark in Space was after perhaps the cargo of babies to feast on. Who knows? But it could be much more darker than it actually was.
I ended up having a hilarious conversation with a colleague about the fact about the snot monster, being kept at the end, and she was like, "That was horrific because they kept it like sealed up and forever trapped in this space, and that was worse than killing it." And I was like, I can't believe I'm having this conversation. This is just getting really surreal.
Well, the whole thing about it was, this is a man that came up with and wrote a lot of the episodes for the Sarah Jane Adventures, which was a children's BBC commissioned drama.
Amazing.
It was made for that age group. And yet the beauty of it was so well thought out, so well produced. Of course, brilliantly acted, a brilliant star in our beloved Liz. God bless her. And then suddenly we were all involved with that. And our age group were all coming along saying, this reminds us of Classic Who. This is why it was Classic, and it had that warmth to it, but it was open to any age group. And now he comes back with this new all singing, all dancing, the most expensive Doctor Who ever. And as I said on the shows, it's as though he didn't have a script editor or a script editor that was saying, no, you need to go back and rewrite that a few times. Because it just seemed like, there's your first draft, produce that, darling. I'm getting on to the next one. Bang, 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 bang. That's how it felt for me. It just didn't.
You only have 8 episodes, though, JT. You have 8 episodes. They've all got to be good. There can't be any duds. It's not like with a 13 episode series where you could get away with 1 or 2. Love and Monsters. Although people, there are fans of Love and Monsters, but you can have those. But with 8 episodes, you need to get them. You need to capture them. They all have to be good, especially the first 2. I thought that anybody who watches Faith Babies and The Devil Called, how is that going to entice you to watch the rest of the series? It's basically just making Doctor Who into a laughing joke. I agree, Paul. It should have just been, make this first episode scary. Show the general audience what makes Doctor Who great. Don't show the general audience what makes, the worth of Doctor Who. I mean, that's just, just stupid from Russell.
Well, I just think I totally think he's just forgotten how to write not just Doctor Who and the Doctor, but just forgotten to write because he's just pushing it out now. And don't forget that these things would have been written in 2022 because they filmed everything in 23, and they've only just finished on the back of that the show we're getting next year. So that's how far ahead.
Yeah.
It's as though they think about it. I want you guys to answer this particular one, who's from Stephen Meyer. Hello, Stephen. This ain't the 70s or 80s anymore, people. So that's in relation to the Doctor having to be sexualized, I think, obviously, on that. What would you like to, you guys, like you gammons, like to say to that?
Wow.
Well, I think, can you pop that back up again, JT? Sorry.
I can. Go on. There you go.
Stephen, yeah, I noticed Stephen earlier. He was suggesting that when we were talking about Ncuti and the gay kiss in Rogue, that it was turning us on. I don't know how he got that, and it strikes me as a little bit trolling, really.
Why would they do that? Why would they do that? It's ridiculous.
And yeah, but
silly.
It's yes, it isn't the 70s or 80s anymore, and everything is supposed to, with time, improve and develop and age well. And if that's the case, then how come the 70s and 80s were better than this?
Yeah.
How come they were? And the 60s, let's throw the 60s in there as well. The 60s, the 70s and 80s. There was lots, especially in the 80s, that I didn't particularly like.
Mm-hmm.
I wasn't a huge fan of the Colin Baker era. I certainly didn't like Time Lash. Sorry, Phil. But, it's...
You're in trouble now, Ian.
I know I'm in trouble now, but I'll stand by it. But you know what? I didn't like Ghostlight, which some people seem to worship at the altar of. I know, JT. I didn't like Ghostlight. But you know what? It was still better than anything we've seen since 2017.
Here's one as well. Okay, if that's the thing, this isn't the 70s or the 80s. Okay, here's a really horrific view from a classic Who fan. I wasn't a huge Sarah Jane fan as a young child. I didn't actually love Sarah Jane Smith. So when Leela, I know, don't.
Georgie, there's the door. The door.
Sorry. But when Leela came along, Leela to me was amazing because she stood up for herself and she had this personality that didn't take any shit from anybody.
She also influenced her dress sense in the late 80s, didn't she?
Absolutely. So
and encouraged girls to carry knives as well in the 70s.
I adored Leela, right? But I'm going to say quite candidly, I grew up with my children in New Who and the Sarah Jane Adventures. And for me, that was incredible because I actually got to know Sarah Jane in a different way through the Sarah Jane Adventures and adored them. And I can now go back to Sarah Jane in Classic Who and appreciate her for what I didn't appreciate her for when I was younger. And that's been amazing to me. It's been a rediscovery. Now, I'm going to argue with you that if it had been this current 2024 season, I would have gone back to Sarah Jane and discovered it was still awful. That isn't the case. It was actually really, really good. And I just didn't appreciate, for whatever reason, when I was little, I didn't get it. But I get it now. And I would say, or I would argue, that's because it was quality writing and it was good stories. And as a result, I can now appreciate something that I've rediscovered and loved as an adult that through my kids, I got round to because I sat and watched Sarah Jane Adventures with them. Yeah. So,
that's the important thing, Joe, isn't it? I mean, you're mentioning that thing there as well. It's very hard for people outside the United Kingdom to understand our relationship with Doctor Who.
Yeah.
It's a family BBC One flagship show. It should be on any time between 6 and 7 o'clock, ideally, so that all the family can get around it. And it is what some of you lot would call a faith, where you can just enjoy it and have some fantasy, have some a drama, science fiction drama about a Time Lord in his TARDIS fighting monsters and all sorts every week. That's it. That's all it was about. That's what Doctor Who is. And parents should be there suitable, being able to say, we're there if the kids get a little bit scared. That behind the sofa moment. This series didn't have any of that behind the sofa stuff, I would think.
Russell T wants to show us that humans are monsters. We know this. The kids that are abused and having a hard time in life and not having great family lives, they don't need to be told that. They know that. They live it every day. They want escapism. He's forgotten the actual golden rule of the classic film, which I recommend you all to go and watch if you've never seen it, which was Sullivan's Travels. It's a very old film. It is amazing. It's about a guy who's put in a prison And up until then, he doesn't appreciate the need for comedy. And he's suddenly sitting in a prison. He's been put there wrongly. And he sits and watches a comedy film and he sees all these hardened criminals laughing and being out of their lives for a moment in time. And that was what Doctor Who was and is sadly no longer. It's a shocking shame.
As I said on our reviews, it's now been turned. Russell loves this soap opera element, doesn't he? He loves this. I mean, if you look at all his dramas, guys, out of Doctor Who, it's all about the niche thing he knows, because as we've said on headlines, as we've said on our review shows, that's what he writes. That's what he knows. That's what he writes. So he's wrong for Doctor Who. He's a wrong match. I want to say to Domgo here, if Disney pull out, I can see the show going into quarterly special hell. Not necessarily, because BBC Studios and Bad Wolf have the funding and the resources and the talent to still do anywhere between 8 and 13 episodes a year if they want to. It will just mean that it goes back to the sort of budget we had between, I don't know, well, certainly it would certainly match, if not exceed, what was going on in the Chibnall era. And problem being is saying to us here, the only reason they're dragging Doctor Who's corpse along this long is to overtake Classic Who's 24-year run, 26, mate. That must be a typo. And it's all about ego. So where are they on now? They must be, they're on 20, aren't they? So there's a possibility.
But they're only on 14 series, fortunately.
Yeah.
Can I say something though? I do think the series that had potential. The next episode, The Devil's Cord, when I heard the Beatles were going to be in, I thought, fantastic.
Yeah.
Superb episode. How can they bugger up the Beatles, if you pardon the expression? I don't know.
New album coming. I want to talk about that in a second. Can I just say hello here to absolutely everybody that's in the chat? There's a lot of you in the chat. I'm trying to keep up with you and failing miserably, but I will get around to you all. Nice to see you all. Welcome to Who's Views. We've got this from Sean. Hiya, Sean. To hell with showrunners, a producer and script editor. It's what's needed. You know exactly, Sean. That's what I've been crying out for years. I can't stand this American showrunner nonsense. No offense to America at all. You know that. Lovely. But I can't stand this way that we work now, where you have to have a showrunner. I'd rather have a producer and a script editor, because by God, they needed a decent and strong script editor on all 8 of these episodes and the 3 specials we've had before, and the Church on Ruby Road, and possibly even the special that's coming, Joy to the World, written by Stephen Moffat. We've also got Jack joining us here. Jack Dexter is saying to us here, RTD has a God complex, allegedly, because Tennant was popular and ratings high in 2006, that the sun shone out of his behind, but Doctor Who was cult before, and in spite of his involvement, not because of it. And it's very strange now, isn't it? It's not even a cult level now, Doctor Who. It's a niche, and it's a niche with a certain set of people. Joe's with us as well, guys, saying, "Oh, I wish for another Tom Baker Barkey Doctor, stoic and batty and marvelous." Never going to happen, because that doesn't resonate with what they want to write, because it doesn't reflect society today, because that's all they're doing. And Paul Ashworth is saying a lot of younger reviewers on YouTube are saying this series was the worst. What do you? There are other channels.
What? There are younger viewers. What's going on?
What's that about?
I've heard of them. I just thought they were ramblings of fiction. I don't know.
I think they probably are, actually. Philip's with us here. Hello, Philip. Nice to see you. Hope your Doctor Who film is going well. Philip, of course, if you are new to our channel, is actually making a fan movie of Doctor Who now, called Doctor Who meets the, what was it? The
Scorpion.
Scorpion. I wanted to say Scratchman, because I'm going back in time there, but that's wrong. Doctor Who meets the Scorpion. Nice to see you, Phil.
That's
what you
a sequel.
Yes, you don't need a huge budget for great Doctor Who. You can write smaller stories with great characters and minimal special effects. Look what they did in the 1970s. It was scary, but accessible to 7-year-olds, and children loved it. We loved being scared. I still remember the thrill. I still remember the thrill from the Stones of Blood on that very late night when we were going to a bonfire party.
But JT, they wrote intelligently for kids in those days. I mean, there was also the Moon Stallion. There was Tomorrow People. The original series was on as well, and there was just so much more that was for kids that was a lot more interesting. Yeah.
Sean is saying to us, BBC and Bad Wolf, what an awesome combination. They should be. They should be. But they've got the listening, and they've got to the wrong person, and they've got the wrong idea. And they've also got, because they're show business, they've got that wrong, well, in my eyes, the wrong take on things, aren't they? But I don't know. Austin is saying to us that Beatles episode was so bad. Let's get on to that now, because I want to talk about that, because we were talking about monsters, weren't we? Really?
Well, I think if you're 5 or 6 years old, if you are watching as a young child, he has got kind of Cruella de Vil vibes about him, which can be a little bit scary, but it's still not very good, I'll have to say.
But the I mean, this, Daleks, Cybermen, that. I mean, come on.
JT, the problem with that is he's a pantomime villain, and they're not meant to be that scary. So you've got a whole. I mean, maybe it worked in America. That would be an interesting question.
Well,
actually.
let us know. How did this go down? Because he's no more over there, isn't he, than he was over here.
In Britain, the kids are sitting going, "That's Dame such and such." It doesn't work.
I have to say that one of the reasons, because I've been asked this in the week, why do you refer to the Devil's Cord as the Devil's Board? Well, I thought that was pretty obvious, really, because I was bored out of my skin. But I was for the whole series, for all 8 episodes. I was quite bored. I found myself dropping off occasionally for them. But this particular episode, this was, and I was not happy with the casting of a drag queen in Doctor Who either. This was just nepotism. This was jobs for the boys, as far as I was concerned. This was Russell's pal, and he got the job because of this. And as we've reported on headlines recently as well, apparently drag queens are in danger. Please get a grip. So we've got all that sort of stuff going on. But this was a guy playing his drag character, allegedly playing a god of this pantheon for stuff like here, but it wasn't. It was just a normal drag performance.
Yeah,
you know, there was nothing special about it. It wasn't played. It had. I mean, you know, it had more ham than my local butchers. You know, it was really, really, really poor. And again, only for a particular audience who were all wetting themselves over the inclusion of this particular person. And then the episode ends with a blooming song and dance routine.
I tried to get that out
for
of my
no
brain
reason
already.
whatsoever. Yeah, as well. Yeah.
What you say, Kirst?
I've tried to. Thanks for putting it back in. I was trying to get that out of my brain.
No, there you go. There it is again for you. Look, you're gonna have nightmares tonight. If I can't sleep, neither can you. But a song and dance routine. That took me out of the whole. I mean, that I wasn't enamored with it at all. I mean, I gave it a 0 on scores on the TARDIS doors because it was just so bad. But that was when I just went, oh, for crying out loud, and actually apologized to my family who were watching this thing with me. I said, I'm really sorry I'm putting you through this. It was just embarrassing for me, the Devil's Board. Awful episode. That wasn't Doctor Who at all.
No, but bear in mind, I am like the biggest fan of musical theatre ever.
You are?
That is my thing. And it was awful. That is not the place to insert it. Sorry. And I can accept song and dance and almost everything.
And almost anything except Doctor Who.
Except
But
Doctor
the thing
Who.
as well, they had the Beatles in this. Why did they not use the Beatles properly? It's ridiculous. It's like
It's like Blake 7 or I don't know. It just was awful. It was awful.
And we've got, apparently we might be having, so the rumor mill goes, there might be another one coming, which is all about the doing that whole thing with Buffy. Like, I mean, I blame bloody Buffy for this. Ever since that episode of Buffy, which was a massive hit because it was done properly.
To be fair, it was done in Moonlighting first.
Well, that's true, but they could get away with it as well to an extent.
So they could, because it was a comedy, Justin.
Exactly.
It was a comedy.
And then Buffy got away with it because you could have all those sort of demons. But this is, again, it's like that idea that I'm thinking that he's not only taking ideas from himself, but he's repeating ideas from other people. Instead of leading like Doctor Who used to do, it's recreating stuff because he just wants to get it done. And what he thinks Disney would like, possibly, allegedly. Matt532, nice to see you, mate. How are you? That was awful, that song. They even had Strictly dancing on it, milking it to the camera. And the problem is, nobody knew because the Strictly fans didn't even watch it. They didn't join in. They didn't come to see the show. Because don't forget that what happened was that Space Babies had a break of what? Not even 5 minutes? And the viewing figures went down for the second one because people just
and Ncuti said, don't go away, come back, we'll be back in a minute.
And he didn't. He didn't. We've got Austin saying to us here, so drag queens can be villains, but handicapped people can't be villains. Good point there.
Can't have machine guns in their Segway.
Yeah. Obviously, we're talking about the Davros thing there, aren't we? So that's a
or
good
rockets
point.
in your wheelchair, Ian.
Yeah, absolutely. The Devil's Board had a lot of potential, didn't it, with the Beatles? I'm not talking with Jinx Monsoon's. Well, I was going to say Jinx Monsoon's character, but Jinx Monsoon is a character, isn't it? I mean, and certainly wasn't scary. It was about as scary as a yeast infection. But I mean, it was just with the Beatles, this huge historic characters, which they are. in pop culture and everything else. It could have been so much more. It had a huge amount of potential, and to flush every bit of that potential down the toilet is really going some. But
It looked nothing like the Beatles whatsoever. And the funny thing is, Disney did the documentary, didn't they, with the Beatles Get Back?
Exactly,
right?
yeah.
So it still baffled me why they couldn't find a way to at least get one of the songs. And I would say this: there's an interesting idea which they put out there, which is what happened to the world when you take music out of it. And I think that's an interesting concept. There's something there. But as with a lot of the series, there had been some interesting ideas, but nothing done with them, whatsoever. And I think that's been its ultimate downfall.
I agree, Amelia. I mean, sorry, Paul. There were a lot of ideas there, but this is where a decent script editor, Paul, needs to come in and say, "Hang on a second, look at this."
Apparently, Russell T Davies said that the reason why there wasn't any music in the episode was because they couldn't get the copyright for using the music, which is like, well, if you can't do that, why are you having the Beatles in it at all? That's really stupid.
Yeah.
Like,
and why put Scylla in there at the token as well? The only reason was, of course, is to say this is Abbey Road. And we didn't need to know that. We knew that. Yeah. Charles is saying to us here, I didn't understand how the Doctor ran away from Jinx, but treated Sutek like a puppy.
That's a very good point. Yeah.
It's a great point.
If he was aiming for the audience he says he's aiming for, the 60s was the wrong era to go back to.
Well, we know why he did that, didn't we? Because it was because he thought, oh, the young people, two of which are on our panel this evening, are saying, oh, we like the Beatles. Of course they're going to like the Beatles. The Beatles are not going anywhere. The Beatles.
But they won't have a clue who Cilla Black is.
No, not necessarily. I mean, she wasn't up there, was she? With oh, sorry, Cilla, I love you. I know you.
But they should have had a Cilla Black song at least to have shown that the world was losing something.
I don't know if we want to subjugate the world to that.
She was going to sing the theme tune for Surprise, Surprise on him, was she? Or something like
that? No. Yeah, that would have been the camp at the end, Kirsty.
Yeah, I didn't know she was a singer. I only knew her from Blind Date, and then
she was huge.
Seeing on like Instagram that she used to do, like she was in Corrie doing like in a gold sparkly jacket, giving all of this, and then the surprise meme that's been going around as well. I didn't realize how much of a big thing she was. I just knew her from Blind Date.
She was the Kylie of her day, really, and part of that whole Liverpool Merseybeat phenomenon. She really was huge, massive star, But I mean, people don't know, do they? They really don't know. I want to say what Paul's got here. Paul Hargate said the problem is everyone seems to think it's important to do a musical episode since the Buffy episode. Maybe they should actually focus on doing an original idea. Here's an original idea, Paul. How about not doing a musical episode? That would be quite original these days, wouldn't it?
And they took so long to do it. It's like they missed the boat, didn't they? Really, to be honest. Yeah.
How about actual sci-fi?
Yeah,
I mean,
don't be controversial, Amelia.
This is the thing that the RTD's issue, I think, in a broader context, has been this kind of pantheon of gods. You know, taking it into some Doctor Who into some sort of fantasy. There's no internal logic to the Doctor Who world anymore as a result of what he brought into it. You know, you can explain the Daleks, you can understand what they're doing or how Cybermen kill things or whatever. This is basically just a plaything so that he can do whatever he wants without having to explain anything. And I think that is the ultimate problem with this series and what he's set up. I couldn't understand or believe anything that was happening in the series when it came to the kind of pantheon of gods part. I mean, they would have been better off bring back the Trickster from the Sarah Jane Adventures. I mean, I like him as a villain, but
he's a good villain.
Just do that. Exactly.
Yeah. Maybe he's problematic though because he walks around with no face. Daryl is saying to us here, I guess you can't do scary now because everyone's a trembling victim and there might be litigation for faltering bladders. Yeah, it's a good point to put that, and that's what that's what I think it is. I think it's because they've got this thing about science fiction and why they've moved away from science fiction more into the fantasy, as we know he wanted to do, is simply because everything in science fiction is problematic. That's certainly why we didn't get any Daleks at the moment, because they are hugely problematic. I've said this in the shows. Thanks, Daryl. Lovely to see you. Now, I want you to guys to have a look at this from Martin Brown, who is saying in 10 or 20 years' time, season 1 will be remembered as a classic season. Go on.
No,
it really won't. It really won't.
It might be, classic for how not to write a script. Something like that. They should show that at universities. Russell.
Film school. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Unfortunately, the universities are captured by all sorts of nonsensical politics that they're churning out a whole load of kids who are thick as mince, and then they end up in the show business industry. We're seeing that right now, I'm afraid.
That's unkind to mince, JT, I have to say.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, we're back to the butcher shop again.
Does have several uses.
The problem is, you think Cybermen and Daleks would be absolutely adored, though, because they are basically showing that if you take away all individuality from people, that's very, very scary. So you would think that would be the ideal villain in this era.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, you would think so, but I mean, there's no way he or any of his team are going to acknowledge any of this, is it? I mean, they are so happy with this. They were so confident that they did season 2 on the back of this without waiting for any of the public or the fans' response to this. So we're going to have to go through all this again from Christmas onwards. And then, sorry, Paul. And then the whole thing about this as well is we've got this alleged spin-off, which is part of this order from Disney as well. At the moment, we've got more of that to come because we don't know. Huge Janus, thank you very much for joining us. Kirsty loves me saying that. Nice to see you here. And thank you so much for your super chat. We're going to get a Rocky Horror rip-off episode. No, we can't because it's problematic. The proper Rocky Horror, the proper one that Jodie and I have adored all our lives. The proper one was fun, and it took the pee out of certain elements that today you're not allowed to even mention, you've got to bow down to, which is such a shame. But thank you, Huge Janus, for that. Can you imagine that? But I think they will. He's talking about, obviously, what we're talking about there is the rumor going around. There's another musical one coming in series 2. God forbid that's going to actually happen. Steve Hindley's got a better name for the show than I did, the Tevils. And Matt 532 is saying to us the Beatles were underused.
Yeah, they were.
They were like extras in it, weren't they, to be honest?
Yeah.
Well, totally. Richard Odd is saying, I can't wait for the Cyber Them to return and the Nice Warriors. And also the Sisterhood of Khan.
Very good.
That's very, very good. Yeah. Matthew's noticed that as well. All right, well, nice to see you, Cyber Them. And he's laughing. Alan D is joining us. Nice to see you, Alan. Muffat said all stories and timelines are correct on the Sunday brunch today. Do you know what? Do we care? I really don't care about the timelines and stuff like that now. Because what these people have done, as far as I'm concerned, since 2005, really. And don't get me wrong, 2005 to the end of Capaldi, there were some cracking stories in there, and we will get around to reviewing them on this channel. There were some really good stories there, but they've insisted on putting these bits and pieces in as well, like the sexualization of the Doctor, that I can't possibly agree with, and it takes me away from the whole thing of thinking this is Doctor Who. And that's what we're talking about. This version of Series 1. Obviously, we're looking at what do you think? Was it worth of that logo? And I'm asking the Whotastic panel, I'm asking you in the chat, of course, if you think it went wrong, what went wrong? And talking of which, do you know what else I'm thinking, guys?
Go on.
What else are you thinking, GT?
I'm thinking somebody really ought to answer that phone.
Your sidekick as well. That's fantastic.
Yeah, that was impressive.
Who's Views? Let's see who's on the phone. Hello, Who's Views? Reviews?
I give Sutex gift of super chats to Who's Views.
Thank you for that, everybody. I'm pleased it was Sutek and not the drag queen. Can you imagine? I think it would, if it was the drag queen, he would have had more to say to me. But yeah, thank you very much for everybody for joining us in the chat. And yeah, as he said, is he a he? Was the dog a he? Thank you very much for all your chats coming through. Keep them all coming. We love you for it as well. Paul is saying to us here, the actress playing Scylla looked nothing like her. And the truth is up there. It's nice to see you, the Kylie of her day. Yeah, she was the cat. She was the original pop princess of the 60s. She was everywhere. She was like a rash. God love her. She was everywhere. She was part of the Mersey Beats. Fantastic. I've got loads of her stuff over there. Put it in my radio show. But she was. I don't think that was over. It's nice to see you. The truth is up there. I mentioned you at the top of the show if you weren't with us then. But nice to see you. And thank you for your email. Really, really nice to see you. Last night in Soho, says Moriarty, starring, of course, Matt Smith, featured Scylla and was only a couple of years ago. I think they were hoping the kids would catch that. Oh, really? I didn't, and I watched that. Great film. That was a good sort of sci-fi fantasy horror type thing, really, wasn't it? Really. And Daz is saying to us here, they couldn't get copyright from one Beatles song, yet they could get Kylie and Gaga. They couldn't even get decent Beatles lookalike. Oh, that's a great point, Daz, because I'd forgotten about that bit, Kirsty.
Here's the thing. Gaga will probably, because of the representation, will be happy with that.
All part of the same.
If it Russell being like, it's going to be done in this scene, she'll probably be like, yeah, or her people will be like that because of the representation that now has Doctor Who.
Yeah, you could have a good point there. Yeah, see, that's great. And hello and welcome to Whose Views to Lord Aggie. If I'm right, none of the Beatles could read music, yet they could in the end of the episode. It didn't make any sense for them to save the day.
Well, it wasn't going to be the Doctor, was it? Because he doesn't save the day anymore. So,
no.
And if we're going to talk about your point, JT, it's just, Doctor Who in name only. Well, that's it. The Doctor isn't the main character of the show. He doesn't solve problems using a brain. He leaves it to others. He cries every time there's a problem. It's not Doctor Who. Simple.
Yeah. Truth is up there saying I must have missed Scylla's gold hot pants here. It wasn't quite the same, but she was massive. She had number ones and everything. She was huge. She was absolutely huge in the 60s. There we go there from Hartnell's Ghost. Nice to see you. Scylla was a huge UK chart and TV star, 63 to 68. And yet she got this little cameo in this awful episode. Carwin is saying to us here, even fantasy requires rules.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. Or a simple story structure would be nice.
Yeah. It's what's brought down Star Wars.
Absolutely.
Oh, true.
And that's what we're in the end of Game of Thrones as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Some nice points here from Stephen Braddock, who's saying to his gang, it was never even explained why the zebra crossing suddenly lit up and destroyed our internal logic. Now, you see, Stephen,
hated that.
This is what I get about this blooming series. I've forgotten that because it didn't grasp me. None of these episodes went, this is Doctor Who. None of it. I just think, and that
awful bit as well, when the TARDIS shuts the doors in time to the music. That was bloody awful as well. Remember that?
I don't remember that. I don't remember that. And yeah, I'll remember when the TARDIS turned into an organ.
Yeah.
I remember when the
Thank God that wasn't this series. God knows what happened there. So.
Well, it was flown by an organ, wasn't it? Really, let's be honest.
I mean, it's even stupid little things like getting rid of the sonic screwdriver because apparently it looked too gun-like. What in the way a torch looks too gun-like? Seriously.
Yeah, it's so silly. Overthinking again, like the Davros incident, Jodie's overthinking.
Yeah.
I can't show this now because they are talking down to the audience here, aren't they? Saying because the audience is so thick, we can't. Everything has to be realistic for them. It's so annoying.
It never occurred to me about Davros being disabled. What occurred to me was Davros was so ancient. He was really, really old. That's what I thought when I was a kid. The disabled bit never even crossed my mind until they pointed it out.
I love the fact back in when we first saw Davros, our age group was so lucky because we got to see Davros first. And I was a wee guy, a wee boy, loving every minute of this crazy new guy with the scarf, loving Sarah Jane Smith to bits, loving Harry. And then that Davros turned up and scared the hell out of me. Loved every single minute of it. And that's what I think young people today aren't getting. They're not getting the scares to show them things like that. And when it came to Davros as well, I loved the fact, Joe, that I knew something had happened to him, something bad had happened.
Yeah.
There had been a war. And that was the whole point.
And what was fascinating about him was he could have become a Dalek, but he totally held on to whatever was of his race and refused to go that final furlong the way he'd made all the Daleks, all the Kaleks.
Yeah. Well, that's it. He made the Daleks in his own image. So the Daleks by default don't exist if he's got legs. So,
absolutely. It was just
it. Yeah.
He was so frightening.
Yeah. Yeah. And there was nothing in this series. I have heard some of the younger ones saying that they found the Sutek from The Legend of the Ruby Slippers. Sorry, the Ruby Sunday. They found him quite scary. But as we know from our review last week, that wasn't mean, he was hardly in it, was he? He was hardly in it the week after. Richard is saying to us here, the trickster is a creation of the talented Mr. Gareth Roberts. So that's probably why he was never going to be seen again.
Yeah.
And that's also, thank you for Richard, that's a plug for one of our other shows here on the channel. On Friday, we dropped an interview with our headline special edition with Mr. Roberts. So if you want to hear some more from him, go and have a look at that. That's available for you right now. Captain Have Fun is with us. Hello. I played Dr. Frankenfurter for a movie. It was a real film, but Richard O'Brien was the only one not to sign off for distribution. It included all the many gags from the theatre experience. A lot of that stuff now they've edited out, haven't they, to a certain extent?
Yeah.
404 TV is here with us, everybody. You guys do realise the show has its leaps in logic all of the time, yeah?
Not all of the time, some of the time. But the premise of the show has got bizarre leaps of logic, but at least it is coherent most of the time.
Yeah, it's never been so shit before. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the whole point of what we know as Doctor Who was it was to tell a good yarn, a damn good story with a beginning, a middle, and age. And as Robert Holmes once said, let's scare the little buggers. That's Doctor Who, and it was from 1963. We can't, unless we were there, we can't imagine what the effect that wonderful theme music had on the little children watching it at the time who had never seen anything like this on television at all, ever in the world. It was truly groundbreaking.
But they kind of even removed the sort of otherness, the otherworldliness of that music when they jazzed it up, to be fair.
Yeah, when it made more orchestral rather than sinister. Yeah. So,
I mean, it just, I'm sorry, that original... I had the Radiophonic Workshop album, by the way.
Yeah,
sad I was. That is a really amazing, like, it sounded like nobody understands that at the time it didn't sound like anything else. There was nothing else sounded like that.
No.
It's unique.
And now you're right. I mean, I hate this whole reiteration. I just don't know. I understand. I remember back in 2005 being a little bit worried when they said we can't use the original theme because it's too slow. And I thought, what does that mean? I mean, it's supposed to be the tempo it is because it's taking you into the Doctor's universe. It's taking you into his stories, his travels. And that's, again, the other thing. I'm going to come to you in the chat for a minute. That's the other thing about this whole story. It wasn't providing escapism in my eyes of any shape or form. Thank you to the chat, $5. Thank you so much for your super chat there. Hashtag RIP Doctor Who. And this is a great show. You're very welcome to us. Thank you so much. It's lovely to see you. And thank you for that. Really appreciate that. And we've got here from Greymore. Nice to see you. Welcome to Who's Views. Knowing Disney's attitude to white men, the Beatles would be problematic. And that's why no music.
Why use them then? Don't use them. Do something else.
Yeah. Use the Spice Girls and take it into the bloody 90s.
Yeah.
At least the kids might have heard of them.
He already did that with the toy maker, didn't he? With the
yeah. Listen, Drawing Jack Rabbit's with us. Hello, Jack. Hope you are fine. Nice to see you. Got to get in touch with you shortly. Never did my younger self say that's a guy in a wheelchair. It looked like a half man, half Dalek, and it captured my imagination straight away.
Totally.
I mean, Kirsty and Emilio, as the age group that this thing is now for, because it's no longer for us gammons. Do you think that younger people, younger than you, do you think they're going to be attracted to this? Do you think they're coming back at Christmas? Do you think they're coming back for season 2? Do you think they actually watch the show?
No.
No. Okay, we'll move on.
I mean, the damage was really done in the Chibnall era. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I mean, that's really where the damage was done. RTD had an opportunity with the 60th anniversary where I think we got like 7.6 million viewers. So people did tune in to see what would happen.
Allegedly.
Well, allegedly, yeah. But yes, they had an opportunity there and they completely fumbled it. So it was almost like a last chance saloon, really. People were willing to give it another go, and so now I just don't think our generation will be watching. I mean, at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you're 16 or 30, 40, 50. At the end of the day, what's going to catch you is good storytelling, things that move you as you watch it. You want that escapism. You don't want to be reminded of what's going on in 2024 all the time. So I think if it's good storytelling, people will watch. House of the Dragon, it's watched by loads of people my age. Line of Duty, which was on previously, loads of people sat down to watch. So it's shown it can be done. So I think at the end of the day, as I said, it's the activists really that will be watching, and the Who fans that can't let go or just or like us who would just keep watching it to review.
Yeah, the sad old gammons like us who do it to come and review on it, and then we get criticised for reviewing it, saying we're not happy with it. But that's what it's about, you know. Thanks for that, Emilio. That's absolutely fantastic. You're going to agree with that, Chris?
Yeah, you've hit the nail on the head again. I would rather watch House of the Dragon again and again and again and again compared to this. I do it because I enjoy reviewing it with you guys, and if we didn't have this little tidy group going on, I think I would have tapped out by now. But also, I'm just a wee drama queen, and I like the drama, so it is just funny watching them dig their grave, and it is the age-old thing of FC UK around, find out sort of thing. So they're making their bed and lying in it, and I'm quite enjoying watching it. It's sad that the thing that we all loved is going, and it's past life support. But it's nice that it's bringing people together, and even if people who are listening to this and they don't agree with what they're saying, they've got people that they can chat to, and that's the magic of bringing people together with sci-fi. And I'd rather watch House of the Dragon. I'd rather go and watch old classic Doctor Who. I'd rather watch my Farscape again. But this is not. He's trying to be hip and cool, and he's not doing it at all.
He actually comes over as an old man trying to be hip and cool.
Yes.
And it's a bit.
It's
sad.
It's really sad.
Yeah.
And this is why I am now thinking, right, he was wrong for this job. And yet again, it was because of the success he had in 2005. The fact that the industry still calls him to this day, every time you hear about it, it's though they're all wound up, isn't it, to say the same thing? Oh, he's so clever. Oh, he's so brilliant. Oh, he's wonderful. No, he's not.
I think one thing that you had in 2005, going back to that, he had other writers to help him out.
Yeah,
I think that wasn't entirely his success. It was a joint success with Gatiss, Moffat, etc. Robert Sherman, all that kind of other people involved, and Gareth Roberts later on and stuff like that. So I think he can't take all the credit for 2005 just being his baby. Really.
He did though, didn't he? I mean, it was.
I also think he's become, the ego has just.
Oh, totally. Yeah, we've reported several times, haven't we, on this show and also Headlines, the fact that he actually did say that nobody can stop him now in the industry, and that's why he's writing what he wants, and it doesn't matter about anything else. I want to say thank you, Shane, for your super chat. Really, really appreciate that, and thank you so much for your support, mate. Really, really appreciate it. And here's Nathan Adler Inc. with the wonderful Bowie avatar there. Nice to see you. I watched Spearhead from Space today. It's so very sad that Doctor Who, Star Trek and Star Wars have been destroyed by talentless activists that have ruined other people's creations with their arrogance. I mean, that's a great point, Paul, isn't it? Because what it's done here is, ironically, in their attempts and drive to be inclusive, all these people ever do is exclude.
Yeah.
Well, that in terms of arrogance, that's what he said on one of the other programs of Unleashed. He said that he doesn't mind if he creates controversy, he'll ignore it, then move on. By that time, he's on another project. He doesn't care. So he's happy to destroy this show. So,
well, he's done it.
I don't see passion in him anymore. You're totally right, GT, that he should go to Channel 4, write his nice, lovely, hard-gripping drama that he'll get all the BAFTAs and he'll get all the
Lovey Awards,
darling, under the sun. Go do that. I just don't see the passion in him for doing sci-fi anymore, and it's probably the ego, a big fat juicy check, and the thought of being the hero to save the day. That, Jodie, you're right as well. It's just made the head go.
Yeah,
and it'll take it, not in a aggressive. It just will take someone to nicely, or it needs someone to put him down a few pegs. That it needs someone else. It's your time. Go and do something else now. It's not your thing.
Yeah. He had something to prove in 2005, didn't he? Because obviously Doctor Who had been off the air. It was, let's be honest, it's a bit of a laughing stock in the wider mainstream audience, and he knew that. So his first most thought was, I need to get Doctor Who, show the general mainstream audience it's serious, and he did that with the kind of the first series with Christopher Eccleston. But you know, now I think he's in a completely different place. He just think I've done it before. I'll just do what I want. I'm RTD. I'm the best. I'm this. I'm that. And I just, you know, as you say, churn out scripts really quickly without, and nobody can tell me, you know, that I can do any wrong. So I think he's in a completely different place in his life. But he's also his priorities are completely different from what it was in the early 2000s to what it is now.
Oh, he's totally a different guy, and you can actually see
Yeah.
that in the scripts, because these scripts are, well, they were lackluster. I mean, we're here to try and talk about everybody. The whole point of this particular show is to review the episodes, to talk about it, to ask what went wrong, to ask if anything went right. We've had difficulty thinking about what actually did go right in this. So if any of you are in the chat and you think something went really right with this show, can you please let us know? We've had a couple of people saying as well about, let's talk about him. We've got to talk about him. Let's bring him into this. I have, as you guys know from the last few weeks, I have real issues with this guy. He is not the Doctor for me. And I'm very, very disappointed in Ncuti Gatwa because I quite liked him as Eric in Sex Education. But all I'm seeing is Eric in Sex Education in Doctor Who. I cannot stand the way that he's been written, where he's blubbing every 22 seconds. I can't stand the fact that he's totally emotional. He is a wreck. And as Paul pointed out on one of the shows, this is supposed to be allegedly the healed Doctor Who. This is supposed to be the Doctor that's full of fun and energy. But it's too much for me. It really is. And hard as I've tried over these last few episodes where we've talked about this guy, I cannot see the Doctor in his performance or the writing at all. Paul suggested a while ago it might be because he doesn't have that consistent outfit. I think that could be part of it, Paul. But guys, I also think, I'm really sorry, I also think it's down to the writing and the lack of an actor.
Yeah, I'm going to say here, I watched Sex Education. It was something I really, really enjoyed. And I've got to say, I thought he could act, but I now think he's actually playing himself. I don't actually think he acted in Sex Education, and I don't think he's acting here. And I think that's pretty tragic, actually.
I would agree with that as well. I think that's, yeah, because as I said, I only see Eric all the way through.
Well, how many times did he cry last episode? Was it 3 times he cried? That's like
no, neither 5.
Was it 5? God, I lost count then. Yeah.
I mean, we should have a cryometer. Never mind our wokeometer. From Christmas onwards. Oh, actually, I'm going to make it that, Who viewers. Look, we're going to have a cryometer.
Do that. Yeah, that could be useful. Yeah.
Cryometer, trademark, copyright, Who's Views for those of you who are watching us.
But like I said before, if he only cried once at the end when Ruby left at the end of the season, that would have been so much more powerful than 7 episodes of crying, but it wasn't. You know?
But do you think so? Because we'll come to talking about Millie in a while. But again, that whole thing. Thank you so much for the chat. Again, I really mourn for Doctor Who and all the brilliant decades, long franchises. It's such an absolute waste. It really is, isn't it? I mean, this is how, to paraphrase a character from the Phantom Menace, this is how Doctor Who dies. to all these adoring, applauding seals who love all this nonsense in show business, and that minority that it's aimed for. Because when I think about what they're talking about, the age group they're going for, I think it's the minority of the age group they're going for that love all the flag waves and the personal pronouns and all that. So thank you, the chat, for your super chat. But this is the problem I have with Ncuti, Kirsty. Yeah, go ahead.
Now, comment about Ncuti as well, that we are going into the age that we're missing. It's not thespians anymore. It's your Instagram actors, and we're going into a generation of that. I feel sorry for people who are going to audition for things and will be having whatever color they are, whatever they are, and they'll have absolute raw, beautiful, sheer talent. And they're getting dismissed for people who are not as talented, and they're getting sold down a river because of what maybe background they come from, and it's ticking a box. And it's a horrible way that the industry is going down. And it always has been cutthroat. And I come from dance, Paul, you come from a bit of a more actiony background as well. So we've had to audition in times, and you have to learn how to thick skin. But we were going for the right person for the job. And it's selling the wrong person down and filling that ego up as well. And it is the Instagram actors, and it's the the sheer raw talent that you can like pick up, and you'll end up in a TV show, but they're getting cut because they're not the right person. And you have to learn that thick skin, but it's the thick skin now for the wrong reason because of just how you were born. It's disgusting.
I'm
well,
glad
as I said, Ncuti wouldn't look out of place on Love Island, would he? Let's be honest.
Well,
So,
this is it. I was just about to say, I think, Kirsty, I think you're fantastic for saying that, because as a gammon, I've seen this creeping in for the last 10, 15 years, and it has worried me. And I've got brilliant friends that are trained to be actors, and they're nowhere near the industry because they don't tick those boxes. You know, they're not diverse enough or whatever, but they're talented. They can sing, they can dance, they can write, whatever it's going to be, they can act. They're not getting the parts because they're not ticking those boxes. And I hate to say it, I said this years ago, with the rise of reality television, which I hate with a passion because it's cheap, tacky nonsense. And then suddenly all these reality TV people started to present shows and start turning up in Coronation Street or whatever. I said, that's the way it's going to go. It's not going to be about real actors anymore. It's going to be about who's the latest buzzword. And I think this has come into it. And certainly when you've got a match of like Russell T Davies, who swears Ncuti Gatwa was the best out of the role. What sort of actors were they auditioning? We know what they were because it was in Doctor Who magazine. Nonsense. But with his writing and Ncuti, now allegedly, Ncuti Gatwa came up with an outfit that was more of his idea what the Doctor is, which would probably be more of what we thought the Doctor was. It was a bit Matt Smithy, apparently. And came up with a performance that he thought, well, that's going to be what the Doctor is to the. And then Russell has turned around and said to him, no, be yourself. And Jodie, I think that's exactly what he's done. He's been himself. Yeah. And here we have this. Domgo, it reminded me of that bloody awful line that I knew the moment I saw the trailer. I thought, this is going to be something I don't like.
Give me the loving.
Give me the loving.
Yeah.
That's not the Doctor. That's somebody that's just wandered out of a gay club.
But he shouldn't be outshone by the companion. You can't have the Doctor being outshone by the companion. They need at least to be equals, or the Doctor to be better. That's just a given. Because he's the constant.
On the language thing. I mean, Matt Smith, Doctor in the 11th Hour, he says, what is it? I'm the man, or something. I can't remember the exact wording of it. And he's like, I'm not saying that again. And I think
exactly.
That's exactly right. The Doctor shouldn't do to our kind of like human, TikTok kind of chat or whatever, Twitter kind of chat. He is an alien. He's much wiser, and he uses his words carefully. I think it's just honey babes. I mean, it just annoys me every time I hear it. It just takes you out of the show that you're watching.
Yeah. Yes, it
ultimately.
does.
And I think
well, I'm going to be honest. If you want to watch Love Island, watch Love Island. That's got all that stuff in it.
Yes, yeah, but don't bring it into.
I didn't want to watch it.
Yeah. We've got 404 TV saying here the outfit doesn't really matter, to be fair. Look at Tom Baker. His outfit started changing through. It's not that we're talking about 404. Yeah. Tom's silhouette, John's silhouette, Peter's silhouette, Colin's silhouette. Everything stayed the same. The Doctor had a silhouette. It doesn't matter what sort of thing. Even Tennant, whose outfit changed, Matt Smith's outfit changed, Capaldi's changed regularly. But the template was there to say, I'm the Doctor. This is how this particular incarnation is, because it represented that incarnation. But now you've got this whole thing where we don't know exactly, apart from being a crying ninny, what Ncuti's Doctor is. He's an emotional wreck. He's not an alien.
That look he had with that leather jacket, which has been used more often than most outfits, I think looked fabulous. I had that real kind of shaft detective look, really, really cool.
Oh, you mean the original one?
The original one, the one that I think you had the first photograph. That's the one.
Yeah.
And I mean, he looks brilliant in that. It was really cool. It's a great outfit. And the one that he had that was the kind of the checkered outfit he had as well was quite nice. And they were very doctory. But the rest of it, the last one, the leather jacket that outfit's terrible. It looks like he's just gone golfing. So
he looks like what it is. That is camp. That's camp.
Yeah. 73 yards, his outfit was awful as well.
Well, yeah, but look at this. This is him just coming out again out of a club, out of a disco. That's not the Doctor.
It's really too ordinary. That's the problem. So.
Well, it is.
It doesn't help him. It doesn't help him have any screen presence, in my opinion. Because look, Matt Smith, when he got the role, he was 26, and you saw him in the tweed outfit, but your eyes are drawn to him because it's not your kind of normal average day clothing. And I think the minute he becomes like normal clothing, he just feels like a companion, or he just falls into the background like any other character. I think that in terms of just helping him have screen presence, I think it's done him a massive injustice, in my opinion.
I think this is the problem, isn't it? And thank you to everybody that's commenting here as well. Doc Martin in the Definite Article saying to us here, Ncuti is a lousy actor. He's appeared in successful movies, but not uttered a line in any of them. He's an extra who hit big time. Ooh, harsh. But I'm going to laugh. But the thing about this is that, Emilio, I think you have a point there. The fact is that the writing has been dire. It's been lazy. It has been absolutely inconsistent. It's been rushed in my eyes. I still say, and I'm going to continue to say, it needed a decent script editor who had the nonce to be able to turn around and say, can you do that again? Can you add that bit? That bit doesn't make sense. This bit doesn't make sense. But it does make the actor look bad.
If Ncuti was written like the Doctor, I think that would have made a difference. That's what's missing. I remember Terence Dick saying many times, the Doctor's always the Doctor, whoever plays the part, if they're written like the Doctor, and he's not. So if there's more Doctor content, the way he speaks, that kind of thing, the sort of terms he uses would be much better, and he'd probably be better received if he's played as the Doctor, which he's not. So.
Well, this is the thing. I mean, this is, again, down to the writing. I'm going to put the writing first before the performance, although the performance is awful. But the writing isn't the Doctor. He's writing this version of the Doctor in a way that it's not the Doctor. I don't know who that fella is, but it's just not him. It's not our Doctor. It's certainly not our Doctor at all. Thank you to Hoot Janus again for your super chat. Could you imagine Gatwa trying to act as an angry, vengeful, malevolent Doctor? I can't see it. Well, we didn't see it, because it was supposed to be there, I reckon, in the last episode when he's confronting Sutek. Compare that to the original performance from the mighty Tom Baker and Sutek then. No comparison at all.
Yeah.
They had great opportunity to do. They had great opportunity to do it. I mean, I was looking at I was thinking to myself with the dot and bubble for ending. Obviously, they made it focus on racism. But what I would have loved is the minute Lindsay lied and said that basically the guy Vicky September, right? She basically got him killed and basically then lied and said, "Oh no, he's gone off to go and help other people." I was thinking at that point, Doctor, you know a liar when you see one. He should have spotted it, had a go at her, and then the question would be, does he save her or not? And actually show that kind of angry, like clever, malevolent Doctor. Matt Smith in the second episode, he got angry, didn't he, in The Beef Below? We need the opportunity to do it, and they chose, rather than doing the right storytelling thing, they decided to focus on the politics. And I think that another opportunity missed in the series.
Oh, totally. And there was this whole series, Emilio, for me now, looking back on it and trying to remember what it was, because it's had no impact at all, was all a missed opportunity. As I've said before on all our shows, he had one job, and the job was to bring fandom back by providing Doctor Who. And instead, they've actually done more to destroy the fan base. We have got more fans now not bothering with the new version. It will hit them in their pockets come merchandise time, because the people they're aiming the show at, Ian, are just not bothering to buy merchandise. You've said this before. They will not buy merchandise.
They've acknowledged that in other chats elsewhere. They've and on various pages and discussion groups, they've admitted as much. They do not buy merchandise. It's not of interest to them, and that's fine. Just in the same way they don't pay a TV license, and this will come back to bite them. But so be it. But as you were talking about Gatwa and not having any doctorishness in him at all, which he absolutely doesn't. I think he was cast because he's the kind of guy that Russell T Davies possibly fancies, allegedly. In my opinion, I think that's probably the guy that he would like. It's eye candy for him. So it's exciting that he can cast a guy like that, because it means he's going to spend a lot of time around a guy like that. That's my own personal view. But, even at 90, if you brought back Tom Baker as a double Doctor story with Gatwa, he would act him off the page. Absolutely would. Gatwa would not come close, and he would be humiliated.
Colin Baker would act him off the page.
Yeah.
So would Sylvester McCoy.
William Hartnell would do it. He's dead.
I know we had him with Tennant, but Tennant wasn't the Doctor that Tennant had been. Tennant was being a very camp, I fancy men now, absolute prat.
Down to the writing again.
Yeah,
down to
it
the
was a
writing.
completely different Doctor. You're totally right there.
Yeah. And that was down to the writing again, because this is what he wants to write about now. Because nowadays it's the only thing he thinks. We've covered this on headlines so many times, haven't we? That's the only thing he wants to do. 404 TV is saying it's not bad writing. Thank you for your comment. Thank you for saying that. I'm going to disagree with you, as the panel will as well. We think it is, but thank you so much for saying it's not. You're valued. So thank you for that. And I'm glad
if it's
you're
not
getting something out of it. Thank you.
If it's not bad writing, it was certainly bad monsters. You can't
Well, I
deny
think
that.
it's bad writing, bad monsters, bad everything. But the only thing I liked about this show, now I'm thinking about it, now I'm discussing it with everybody, is the fact that the production, all those people that worked on this behind the scenes were doing a bloody good job. Because, you know, I thought it looked all right. You know, the design looked lovely. The feel of this new universe the Doctor's in looked lovely, apart from things like the unit tower and stuff like that. I want to know why everybody was wearing heavy eyeliner this season. Was that an in thing? I don't know. But apart from that, I think they've all been, the effects, I think they were doing a really good job, and they've just been let down. But Shane Spangler is saying to us here, imagine what Barry Letts or Philip Hinchcliffe could have done with the budget for the 2024 series. They would have made movies with that budget.
Imagine Invasion of Dinosaurs with this budget. What can I say? So,
I mean, I know it was good. I know it was good anyway, especially on first viewing, which was incredible in that era and at the age some of us were. But imagine if he'd been able to do Genesis of the Daleks with this kind of budget.
Yeah.
The scale,
Oh,
you know, some of the scenes that were in the studio wouldn't have been proper armies of Daleks advancing on the Thals. Can you imagine? My God, how good that would have been. I mean, it's brilliant anyway for the way they did it. And it will always be an absolute top 5 classic. But
don't you think, actually, when they had less money, they were more inventive?
You had to use this though, didn't you?
Yes. So there was more thought went into it, because they really had to think about a way to capture the audience. And I actually think the big money's made them incredibly lazy. And they're treating us like, you know, a lot of the Hollywood movies that are churned out, just have a big action sequence, wham, 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 all really fast. And that'll do. And I actually am so bored by a lot of those movies now, because there is no discernible difference between any of them.
No. And this is the problem we've got. I totally agree. This is the problem we've now got with Doctor Who. It's now got the biggest budget it's ever had in its history, which is obviously bad for Doctor Who, bad for this British television show, because it's making it look too much. But what they're doing, Joe, in my opinion, is that they're turning around saying, look at us, we've got the biggest budget, effect. And, you know, to hell with the writing, to hell with the acting, to hell with the lead character's quality, to hell with that look of it, effect. And as somebody said to us in the chat before, where's all the money gone? Where I tell you where it's gone.
What have they done with it? They've not done anything with it, have they?
Well,
really?
they built the TARDIS set, and it's gone on salaries, I bet, allegedly, all allegedly. 21st Century Boy Jason is saying to us here, I know this is controversial, but the question isn't about what went right or what went wrong. The question is what, who, and why is Doctor Who so important, and why should the TV license public care? Well, it's all tied together, in my opinion, Jason. I think you're right there, but it's what went wrong pushed the public away, because you're in Britain, you know now, the general public do not care about Doctor Who now. They have gone, and they ain't coming back.
You're right. They're not. It's gone too far. It's gone way too far.
We've got Marjorie. Hello, Marjorie. Nice to see you. Marjorie is saying to us, Ncuti was the wrong person to play the Doctor. The show needed a proper actor to play the Doctor, and he's not in it. I'm going to back that up by also saying as well, of course, Marjorie, he needed good writing. Had he written like he had written for Eccleston,
it might have worked.
It might have worked with Ncuti. It might do. You win a prize, honey, says Steve Black. Yeah.
Followed by separating the TARDIS with a giant wooden mallet. How bizarre was that?
Yeah, all this sort of stuff. Melanie's saying to us here, honey babe, etc. It just really grates on me. I can't stand it at all. Matthew's saying to us, there are moments that Gatwa shows he could be a great Doctor, which again makes me think that RTD is the problem. Where? I'm genuinely interested, Matthew, because I can't remember where was the moments that you thought he could be the great Doctor? Because I can't remember them. And I'm saying that because I just can't. It's had no impact on me at all, this series. Not at all. And as I say, I can remember things from the original series like that. But this, I'll just forget. I'll forget. And it's never going on the show. There's shelves over there. I'm never going to buy it. I'm never going to watch it again. No interest at all. Austin is saying to us here, the outfit kind of does matter. It can change, but it should always look dope. What?
Very good.
Yeah, just checking the kids there. That's right.
We need youth interpretation for this one.
Thank God for that. Whoa.
Absolutely. Listen, I want to get to you before we talk about Millie Gibson. Thank you, everybody, for joining us, by the way. Yeah, great to see you all. I want to go to the next story I've got for you all to consider, and it's this particular one from Den of Geek this week. RTD points out complete narrative collapse in the Doctor Who finale. It pains me, says showrunner Russell T. Davies. Now, this is tying in with what we've been actually saying over the last set of episodes, guys, when we're reviewing this, that he needed that script editor, that decent script editor, because he's now actually admitting there could have been plot falls. Let's have a look in this. We've got this saying, in Empire of Death, just after Melanie Bush is revealed to be Sutek's latest victim, the TARDIS does something it's never done before. And according to Russell T. Davies, speaking on the BBC iPlayer in episode commentary, something it will never do again. Bring me the Time Lord and Child and their precious secret, demands Sutek. In response, a cloaked Harriet Harbinger pulls the lever at the console of the TARDIS, and that's currently parked in Unit Tower. As a result of her lever pull, dead Mel, Ruby, and the Doctor are instantly transported across time and London from the Department of Health in 2046 to Unit Headquarters in 2024. Mel's dead, and so doesn't remark on it, and the Doctor seems totally unfazed. But Ruby does the sensible thing and looks around her with an expression of what? If we could hear her thoughts alongside all the stress about her mum and the death of the universe, she may well have been thinking, I bloody said it was like a matter transporter in Star Trek. Ruby's right to look confused, because hang about, if the TARDIS can suddenly transport people who aren't in a TARDIS across the decades, then it just turned into an extremely over-engineered wardrobe. If you don't need to be inside the TARDIS for it to chuck you through space and time, then all of Doctor Who's we must get to the TARDIS peril goes out of the window. The fact didn't go unnoticed by Empire of Death's writer Russell T. Davies. And speaking on the final episode commentary with actor Bonnie Langford and super producer Vicky Dello, RTD expresses frustration. Because of the absence of the remembered TARDIS, we have a complete narrative collapse at this point, where the TARDIS just invents a time beam that transports you through time and space. We've just invented something we'll never use again. I hope we don't, where the TARDIS can just whoosh you through time and space without a TARDIS. It pains me. I blame everyone else. We'll just forget it. Never again. At this point in the episode, as originally scripted, RTT explains, the remembered TARDIS had collapsed and disappeared after depositing the Doctor, Ruby and Mel in 2046. Ugh. Oh, that was an SFX sequence too far to this already packed episode, and so it was cut from the script. This continues. It's good news that it was, because the remembered TARDIS went on to provide the Easter egg-filled setting for a series of classic-era Doctor Companion reunions in Tales of the TARDIS. Originally created just for Empire of Death, Davies conjured the idea of reusing it as part of Doctor Who's 60th anniversary celebrations and having it floating through the vortex, giving old Doctors and Companions treats and rewards. In the final episode, the remembered TARDIS doesn't collapse, but for some reason isn't used to get the Doctor, Ruby and dead Mel back to 2024. I like to imagine it drifted away, says RTD on the episode commentary. Lost its anchor, slipped its moorings, drifted away into the time vortex and became the tales of the TARDIS remembered TARDIS. Perhaps making the return trip in the remembered TARDIS would have taken too long for such a busy episode, or perhaps, as Vicky Dello jokingly suggests on the commentary, it's all down to Sutek's godlike powers. Either way, it apparently won't happen again. Again, this ties in with a couple of points. We've got lots of plot holes, lots of stuff not tying up, and a lot of exposition giving in the show that hardly anybody was watching after it, which you shouldn't have to do. I mean, Paul, you've said this on our reviews. You shouldn't have to go to a sequel show to understand what happened in the episode you've just watched.
Yeah, you shouldn't have to have an explanation every time you think you've not explained the plot properly. That's just crazy. You should be having it in the writing in the episode itself, you know?
I do have to go in a sec, JT, but what I can say is that he's invented the bigger plot hole in the fact that the 14th Doctor TARDIS is just there waiting at Donna's house, which he could have easily, which is basically, you know, that would have solved all of the problems. You didn't need a memory TARDIS. There's another TARDIS right there, the real TARDIS. So, you know, it just, he clearly is not thinking about just, you know, the repercussions of the stuff he invents. He just invents it and then explains it in the Unleashed, and it doesn't even make logical sense even when he explains it. So it's just off the top in his head in Dream World in Doolally Land, and that's RTD.
Absolutely.
That's it. Yeah.
Well, listen, Amelia, I know you've got to go now. It's absolutely fantastic to see you. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for your opinion. So, yes, Nice to see you. Thank you. Have a
Thank
lovely
you.
rest of the evening.
Cheers, guys. Nice to meet you all, and look
Yeah.
forward to seeing you
Good to see you.
soon.
Andy,
Cheers,
nice to
mate.
meet you.
Thank you
Bye-bye.
so much. Thanks, Emilio.
Bye.
And
What
that
a
was
cracking
Emilio.
chat.
Yes.
Bye.
Yeah.
Yeah. And nice to get another point of view from Kirsty's age group as well, isn't it? So on that particular one, because as
Because
we've
you
said
can't believe
there-
everything Kirsty tells us, can we? Let's be honest.
No. I mean, Austin is saying to us here as well. That's up there, which she kind of forgot about the Islands or whatever. Absolutely. And yeah, Noel Thrussell. Hiya, Noel. RTD is redonkulous.
Yep.
And Charles is saying to us here, the money they have to make this show and the scripts don't even work. Why not? Exactly. Why not? And why wasn't there a decent team of script editors? Again, this is the point with my whole point of saying, let's get rid of the showrunner nonsense, because obviously, as in this particular case, they think they can do what they want. And they right now, he can. He absolutely can. He is the head honcho of the whole alleged Whoniverse. So he can do what he wants in anything and everybody's going with it. I just find that ridiculous. As Matthew was saying to us here, it's stunning and brave, stunning and brave.
But it's like the boss who promotes everybody that says yes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think if there had been a script editor and they had stood up to Russell T Davies, he would have sacked them. Simple as that. He would not.
Yeah,
he would not
I agree.
have any truck with anybody pulling him up on anything, because he thinks he is, whatever he vomits on the page first is perfect. Therefore, it can't be improved. Therefore, just go out and rehearse it and film it, if indeed they rehearse it, and put it out on screen. Which is.
But they're the really scary people. The really scary people are the people that will listen to anybody else or anybody else's opinions.
Yeah.
Well, I think
They're
that's
the real
most of
monsters
the
in
show
this life.
business. I think that's most of the show business alleged entertainment industry, Jodie, because what this version of Doctor Who has proved is that they don't want to entertain anymore. That's secondary. What they have to do, as I said at the beginning of the show, is what they have to do now is they have to tell us how we should be thinking. And unfortunately, I think at the end of this week, we're going to get more of it and more of it and more of it. And I think in Britain, we're in for a real rough ride over the next 4 to 5 years. But enough of that particular one. Keyring of Razalon is saying to us here, RTD was too busy chasing the soapy Ruby's mother nonsense rather than the sci-fi Sutek stuff. Who remembers Sutek being in episode 2? Exactly. And Daryl is saying to us here, so when he writes rubbish, he doesn't notice till it's been filmed and edited, because he hasn't got a script editor or a script editor worth, Somebody got to say something there?
It's embarrassing, isn't it? It really is embarrassing, and that's being kind. There's so many throughout this entire series. There's so many plot lines that are just left unresolved or completely unsatisfactorily explained, that it's just making a joke of itself. You can't take it seriously. There's nothing to enjoy in that. It's quite sad, really.
And we've got Lex here saying to us a question: what happened to the other TARDIS, the 14th Doctor's TARDIS? Even though I was not a fan of 2 TARDISes. Well, that we asked that on the show last week, didn't we? In our review of Empire of Death. Suddenly, at that particular point in time, there were 3 TARDISes in the same point of time. So obviously, the Blinovich limitation effect doesn't affect the TARDIS, to that extent. But we had, I mean, where was the alleged Doctor? I've got this feeling that the alleged 14th Doctor, of course, is going to be off planet conveniently all the time now, even though Sutek's in his particular TARDIS. And Domgo was saying
how can he do that if the universe was destroyed? Where was he then? Was he out of time and space like in Legopolis? What happened? What?
No idea, because they don't explain it. But Domgo is saying, look, there's the explanation. The 14th Doctor is too busy lying in bed watching Tipping Point.
There's worse things you can do. So
yeah. Austin Woods, thank you for that, Domgo. That was great. That was funny. God of Death becomes the God of Gossip, plugging those plot holes. I mean, the whole thing about bringing Sutek back, I hated it, because that simple reason was they ruined him. They ruined one of the best villains in the series history.
Yeah.
Why would he give a toss who Ruby's mother was?
Ruby's mother was, yeah. We've
Why
got another one.
Care?
Oops, we've got another one here from the Keyring of Razalon. I wonder if RTT will fess up to the Who is Ruby's mysterious, powerful, ordinary, powerless mother 12. Well, we've got that mystery resolved. It was a normal woman that works for the NHS.
Season 2. Apparently, there's more. apparently there's more to come in season 2, and the family are still in it as well. So
I can predict. I can. Well, actually, what we've got here is apparently, although we know that Millie is coming into season 2, she's not in every single episode. She's in several. She's in a handful. So I'm calling it now. The mystery will be who's her dad. Elizabeth Knightsbridge, the lady Knightsbridge, is with us. Hello there. RTD scripts are so full of bugs and glitches. I'm beginning to wonder if he wasn't the writer of the post office arriving software.
Very good.
Topical. I love it. And Alan D is reminding us, hey, everybody, it's easy to make a TARDIS. All you need is a mallet and whack a TARDIS and make another. Again, lazy writing.
Very lazy.
Paul is saying to us here, the idea he stole from The Last Jedi, the worst Star Wars film. Yes, we've had that coming out this week as well, haven't we? Peter Venkman is with us. Nice to see you, mate. Hope you are well. And YW2324 is saying, in response to what Lady Knightsbridge was saying, that yeah, it's getting frustrating. Like, just write something good for crying out loud. I don't think that's going to happen. YW, no. I really don't. I just don't think. I think what's coming from Christmas onwards is more of what we've just had, because it was all written back to back, produced back to back, and performed back to back. And who's Janus? Thank you again for your super chat. Man finding himself neck deep in crap remarks. I may have followed through. RTD shambles. That's a good headline. That I may have followed through. And Keyring of Rassilon, thank you for that. Keyring of Rassilon Paul is saying to us, I'm generally a huge RTD fanboy, but this season I feel he's dropped the soapy ball. I think a lot of people will feel that, Paul.
Yeah. I think a lot of us were full of hope.
Yeah.
Oh, we were. I think it's a mistake, though, to drop Millie. I think she was the best thing of the series, and they got rid of her, and she's only in half the season next year. Getting a new companion was a big mistake. Really.
Well, and now you've mentioned her, we've got to talk about her as well, because one of the things we were asked, weren't we, on last week, did we like anything at all? And we all said one thing we liked was Millie Gibson. So here she is playing Ruby Sunday. So let's give her the credit. As far as I'm concerned, this very talented young woman who was new to me, I knew she'd been in Corrie, carried the show.
Yeah.
And I think we do need to give her that huge shout out there, because
but you feel sorry for her, don't you? Because it's such a bad show to be in.
Do you get the feeling, guys, that there's some sort of story going on here as well?
Behind the scenes, you mean? Yeah. There's more to it than meets the eye. We'll find out the Doctor Who Babylon in 2028 or something like
that. 3 letters, NDA, probably.
Yes.
Probably
allegedly, yeah.
What new Doctor Adventures?
Good one.
That's what that reminds me of. Back in the 90s, the NDAs, the new Doctor Adventures. Yes, the NDAs. I don't know, but we've got a big. I mean, guys, very quickly, what do you think your favourite moments of Millie's performance were? Because she did carry this series. She had some wonderful things. I mean, everybody was saying that. A lot of you were saying in the chat, 73 Yards was the best story of the season. And that was her story. That was her episode. She was the first one in set out of this reiteration. She carried that beautifully, didn't she? What did she do? I mean, it was just absolutely fantastic how she performed in that. She really did well.
See, at Christmas time, I was like, oh my God, it's just a budget Rose. It's a Wish version. And I actually really regret thinking that now, because she started to shine for me in Boom, especially when she had the gun and she's like, come on, come get me, come get me. And she's actually got more cojones than the Doctor did. But then the 73 Yards, I was like, okay, this girl's got bite. Like, she carried the whole series, and that episode really showed that she's got good acting chops. And someone actually also mentioned that because of the soap background she comes in, she's got that good already understanding to do the sort of soap opera bits. But I think as well, this was a great opportunity for her to do the sci-fi thing. And the really sad thing as well, I think she would have shone even more if she had someone like Peter Capaldi under her wing that she could watch and actually bounce off a true thespian to learn more. Because every job like that is you're in your craft and you're working, but you also learn so much on the job as well. And it's a baptism of fire. And I think it would have been great for her to grow more. But totally, if she's in several episodes or just one episode next season, she's going to be fine. She's got a career ahead of her. Don't know about
Well, she's already
TT,
gone, hasn't she?
She's got a career.
Yeah, she's already filming. What was it? The Forsyte Saga. She's in the new version of that, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, she's in the new version of that. It's a good look to her. I think she was good in all the episodes. I understand why people look at 73 Yards more, because she was the main character in it, and good for her. But I think she was also, I said this in our reviews, didn't I? She was acting. She was actually trying to build a character from a very stale page.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just thought she could act.
Well, she did a bit of a Capaldi, and she managed to lift her bits of the script, didn't she? You know.
Yeah.
She looked good in. She was good in 73 Yards, definitely. But then that's because she wasn't paying lip service to a very camp gay man playing a very camp gay man. You know, she was able to be herself, and those scenes in the pub, particularly, I think she did really well. It's just a shame this was the era that she was in. I think I would have loved to have seen her as she is now, with Capaldi instead of Clara, any day of the week. She was just quite aggressive for me, whereas Ruby would have been all right, I think.
It's interesting to see, you know, when you start thinking about companion pairings with other doctors. I've never really done it before, but with this one, with Ruby, I am. And even though the writing was so bad, because the performance was good, I can imagine her with Peter Capaldi's Doctor and playing off that. And the age difference would have been very good there as well. Excuse me. We're getting a lot of love for Millie in the chat. Tom Go there is saying thumbs up for Millie. Moriarty is saying she's a fine actor and took the weight of it all. She's the best part about Rogue. And yet she wasn't really much in Rogue, because it was all about those two.
I liked her in Rogue. There's that relationship she had with the character Emily, the woman who turned out to be an alien in the end, when they're doing the chat about sort of modern speaking language and stuff. That was quite a funny relationship. I enjoyed that part of it.
Yeah, I mean, but the brilliant thing about, again, what she was doing is she took each script and she acted. She wanted to build a character. She wanted to lift the character off the page. I mean, it was the silly little things for me that she did as well. The way she would look, or the way she would hold her body, or the way she would react. Even that article we talked about there, when they're transported without a TARDIS, which has gone over my head because I was that disinterested. I just thought it was Sutek dragging them back to where he was. Millie reacts as they say, "What's just happened? That's an actor."
The problem is, though, she made other people look ridiculous, though.
Yeah,
because they couldn't act.
Yeah. Except for Bonnie. I'm going to throw that in there. Bonnie did a cracking job.
Bonnie was great.
Bonnie was superb,
I just feel she made people look like spare parts. Other people look like spare parts because they weren't really doing what they were supposed to do. They were in there for no discernible reason, and that was problematic in itself. Totally. But she actually can act. She is really good. It wasn't just that she shone in what was a poor series. She shone because she actually can do the job, and really convincingly, actually.
And I think we might miss her. Now that she's going away. Obviously, she's not in the Christmas special. She's in a couple of the episodes, as we know, next year. So we'll be welcoming her back in season 2, I would think, with open arms. Noel is saying here, Millie was great. Rick is saying to us, I enjoyed Millie and Ruby. Great job. 73 Yards, says Lex. It was like a Twilight Zone episode. It was, but not as impactful. You know, those scenes in the pub were my favorite, and then it went off into all that tangent.
Yeah.
And then you had to retain the information for the last episode.
Yeah.
Again, because it's 8, as Amelia was saying, because it's only 8 episodes, there was too much going on for 8 episodes there. Take 2 story strands and stick to it if you want to retain your audience, and then explain it all. Millie was great, says Paul Ashworth, especially in 73 Yards. And Garbage is saying, I can't wait for the next series to be over. Then we will find out what happened.
No, we won't.
Lynn is saying to us, underwritten character, but she did well, perhaps too well.
Yeah, I think so.
That's why she was allegedly fired then. So
all allegedly. As I keep saying, we will get to know one day in Doctor Who circles. It will come out. Are any of us really interested? Not really. Ruby was solid, says Austin. She clearly could be a great companion with a better doctor, better writing, and get her off to Bog Fanish. Bless her. I wouldn't wish that on her. Matt532 is saying her character would have worked in most eras of Doctor Who. She was good. Again, a good point. And Marjorie is saying Millie Gibson was underused, in my honest opinion. Yeah. Anthony, hello, Anthony Parkinson. RTD would always write the companion. Rather write the companion than the Doctor. He said that, doesn't he? because to his credit, he understands that's the audience. But you've got to have a strong doctor there who's doing things that's totally alien, so that the companion can actually turn around and say, "What's that, doctor?" Because that's the companion's role. And you can add things on the top of it, but because we're sitting there going, "What's he up to?" She has to ask that. She has to say that. Here we got here as well. Nice to see you to charge in my laser. I must say I was never a fan of Millie. Maybe it was the writing, but she wasn't a great companion, in my opinion. That's absolutely fine. Absolutely fine. Thank you for that, mate. Nice to see you. And Lisa is saying to us, the only thing I liked about Millie was her outfit in the Devil's Cord, a 60s dancing and a tank top at the end of episode 8. It's nice that we've got a couple of other things here, but that's really, really good. Thank you for that one. Thank you. Charles is agreeing with Anthony, saying, yes, he can write young women from Earth very well. He just can't write the Doctor anymore. Yeah. And Moriarty, I liked her giving me a cheers with her white plonk at Christmas with her glasses on. I don't get that.
When she was 50 or whatever it was,
Oh, I see.
Yeah.
Right, in 73. Yeah. See, not retaining the information. It's not there.
That she obviously moisturizes. That's how she looks so youthful, I think.
Well, yeah. I mean, I don't even know what year it ended up on. Was it 20 odd years from our?
It would have been 2046 or thereabouts, wasn't it?
Was it?
Forward, because that's when they had the Prime Minister with what's his name, and Arab Bevan.
It went beyond that, didn't it? Because she ended up an old person, so it went to the 2060s.
Of course, yeah. So I've forgotten that. God, my God, yeah.
Easily done, isn't it? It's just so forgettable. Even that episode.
Yeah, Eric is with us. Hello, Eric Murphy. It's nice to see you. Thank you for your comment. Asking, why did the BBC commission 2 series together? I thought the BBC commission decides during the first season based on ratings, and based on what I've seen, I cannot see the BBC commission series 3. Well, it's more complicated now. It's really, really more complicated now, because Doctor Who is now a BBC Studios production in partnership with Bad Wolf, and then they got Disney involved with the distribution. So actually, and from my way of looking at this is how this has worked. So many episodes, 24 to 26 episodes, have been ordered, and what they've done is they've broken down into 8, 8, and 8, because we believe the spin-off series is also 8 episodes long as well, if that gets made. So there's your 3 series that have been ordered by the likes of Disney, and the BBC have just bent the knee and said, yes, we'll go with that, because it was Disney calling the shots on this series this year. From the broadcast time onwards, they were calling the shots.
Yeah, that's Disney's going to template for most of their shows on Disney Plus. They're all 8 episodes long. I wondered if when Disney came on board, before they came on board, but they planned to do a longer series of 13. I don't know, and they split it in half. I don't know.
I'm so glad they didn't, because I couldn't have gone.
I know we'd have to sit longer, but we'd still be watching it now.
Yeah. I couldn't have done 13, guys. But can you imagine me tonight? I would have been like that. Pass me the medication. Divining Dragon is saying, I think she will have a career and has the ability to grow. I'm less convinced Gatwa will have as a long career. I don't know if he can grow. Thank you for that, Divining Dragon. Nice to see you. And 21st Century Boy saying, this shows how no one cares about Doctor Who from the BBC nor Bad Wolf by having content approval before committing to shooting the script. Yeah. The way they're producing is not the traditional way. Maybe it's the new way television works, but it's certainly not what I would expect it all to be. But I don't think the BBC have any say in this to an extent. Now, I think BBC Studios are just so thrilled that they've got Disney there. They don't care.
It feels like a parody of Doctor Who now, I have to say, really. But...
Yeah.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? I mean, it really, really did. The truth is up there is saying to us here, Millie was robbed of having a strong character to play, too few episodes and such a weak lead actor to play against. And Domgo is saying, check out the end of Dot and Bubble when Gatwa is gobbing all over the place. Millie's reaction is excellent. Yeah, it really, really is.
I just can't imagine them doing anything with the heavyweight that they did in the 70s, where I'm just thinking of Robots of Death here. The real heavyweight acting there was there, the interaction between the crew members, the whole way that all played out to me was for me, it was perfection. I know it's not everybody's favorite, but I absolutely adored that series. Yeah. And I can't see that in the new. It's almost like a parody, like you say. It's like, it's awful.
Yeah. We've just had somebody in the chat saying, and I've lost it because the chat is moving so fine. Just to reiterate, we know she hasn't been ousted. We're not saying that, We know she's in season 2. We have said that. We've been saying it for weeks. We know she's in season 2, but she's not in all of it. She's in a handful. She's in at least 3. She's not in the whole series.
And who's to say she's not gone now because they've recorded it all, so then she won't be in season 3 if there is one. Who knows? You know?
Well, there will be a series 3. There's definitely going to be.
But will she be in that? If she's been kind of chucked, you know?
Well, she's not going to be in it. She's left. She's done a bit. She's gone. Josh is saying that Millia's not been out. We know she's part of season 2, but it's a handful of season 2. She's not a regular. She's a guest artist.
Yeah.
Like
but
Martha
they made it at the same time as series 1. That's the point, isn't it? So
yeah, like Martha was a guest artist in series 4. Millia's a guest artist in series 2. That's what we're saying, and she won't be in series 3. Because there will be a series 3 in some format. That's what we're saying there, Josh. So keep your comments coming through, everybody. At this point, I am going to be asking the Whotastic panel and all of you as we get towards the end of the show for your scores on the TARDIS doors out of 10 for the entire season. Josh is also saying that his foster father, Melvin Hayes, had a small role in the 2003 Big Finish audio Sharda with Paul McGann, voiced the character Wilkin. Well, nice to see you, Josh. And I met Melvin Hayes many moons ago. And he was a lovely guy. Lovely, lovely, lovely. So thank you for that. Nice to see you. And thank you for that memory there. I'm mentioning Mr. Hayes. We've got Astronomical One here saying, thank you for your super chat. I wish the show good luck in the future. We need a change. Did I miss the hashtag Battlefield reference? Side note, England wins. I assume
just for Battlefield, just to keep you happy. That's right.
Yeah. Well, the Battlefield thing we're talking in headlines. So come back to that. We will be talking about the next set of ratings updates this week in headlines as well. We're not going to talk about it here tonight, but thank you for that, Astronomical. Yes, and I imagine that's some sort of footy ball reference.
Yeah.
How bizarre. But thank you for that. We really appreciate that. Charles is saying, oh, blimey, there's a spin-off too. Allegedly, and it's this whole thing about the Sea Devils. We are still waiting for the official confirmation. They have said, and Russell has said, as we've reported, that the offices have set up. We do hear that the team that has produced this series of Doctor Who is coming back after a wee break to start production of this next spin-off, which will be shown next year at some point. At the moment, however, from my point of view, Charles, it's all up in the air. And when they confirm things, we will be talking about it here on this channel. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please make sure that you have. And come back and join us and ring that bell to make sure you get notifications. And also, just to make sure as well, if you've already subscribed to the channel, please make sure that you're still subscribed, because we're still getting people telling us they've been unsubscribed. Nothing to do with us, but keep it coming. Make sure that you have. It's been announced, according to Neil Hawkins, that Freema Agyeman will be in the spin-off series with Sea Devils and Silurians. It's due to start filming in September, apparently. I've missed that.
Can I just add as well with that as well? I get that we all get excited when we see tidbits, but yeah, just wait for official confirmation, because it is coming out that every Tom, Dick and Harry is going to be in this, and it's going to have fireworks. It's going to be that just...
Yeah. It's in the Rani and Omega as well, I think, probably.
Just wait for it, because we'll talk about it and just wait for it. And
I haven't seen anything official at all, and I get a lot of emails, I get a lot of press releases, I got a lot of stuff from also, and I've had nothing. I've had
with
nothing.
all the guys looking ready to drop it when it's ready. Yeah.
Well, absolutely. I mean, Kirsty's right. As soon as anything official comes along, we're going to discuss it on headlines. So make sure you're still with us. But I have seen absolutely nothing. And as far as I'm concerned, Freema Agyeman has just signed to another series, because that lady is popular and she's had a stellar career in America. She's done very well since leaving Doctor Who. Huge.
Apparently, in the West End and Romeo and Juliet, she plays the nurse.
That's what I thought. Yeah, I thought she'd done that, and then she's got an American TV series to go back to as well, hasn't she? Apparently.
Amsterdam, yeah.
Thank you to the chat for your super chat. Thank you so much again for Bonnie Langford. You could tell she knew what true Doctor Who was and was absolutely fantastic. We've got to mention Bonnie in this as well. Now, it's actually very strange because Bonnie, bless her, Bonnie got a rough ride in the 80s, as all of us will know that were there. You know, absolutely rough ride. People at the time, the fans were just like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. She did come into this at a really bad time in the show. Her scripts were dodgy. She didn't really get character development. She didn't get any help from the production team at all. She got nothing from the directors at all. So she did what she could. And here she is now, having seen out to an extent the dying days of Doctor Who back in the 80s. and here she is again. And this time, I would have loved to have seen her in a different part of this, the reboot Doctor Who, because she's damn good, isn't she, Bonnie? She really is. And
a lot of advice: she should read the script before she commits. I think, to be fair, but.
Well, when you're offered that, Bonnie, take it. Go on, Ian.
I don't know what you mean about her 80s scripts being dodgy. I mean, she had Delta and the Bannermen, for goodness sake.
that was an exception, obviously.
Yeah, well, I mean, I have to say, I will now go back to those McCoy years with glee, even though he's annoyed me this week, and put that aside and be able to watch him and watch those series with joy, you know, because now I can see that it is still Doctor Who, unlike the stuff we've had now. I was hoping that this relationship would work, and it didn't. For me, it fell short. And having thought about this after the last 2 episodes there, she was wasted in the giggle, and Bonnie was wasted in these 2 episodes as well. Mel seemed to be a character that was getting the plot from A to B to C, and then back to A. Do you know what I mean? That's all she was there for. And it was, again, I think it was RTD saying Bonnie was huge in EastEnders. Let's get her into Doctor Who. But the audience didn't come. They weren't there. I mean, the audience is hardly there for EastEnders these days. Let's face it. But what a shame, because she made something of the character was slightly better. Mel was recognizable, but she was slightly more developed. Yeah. And Bonnie made the most of that. There were certain aspects where Mel's skills were used. She's moved on. She's traveled the universe for decades now. She's back. She's doing all this sort of stuff. She's working for UNIT. There was something missing for me. Not Bonnie's fault, and not.
I think it goes back to the leading man again, because I think if Ncuti was stronger, that might help the relationship as well. The same way with Millie, as we said already.
Yeah. Well,
but it was David's idea, wasn't it? He just kept doing it. He put her in because he thought the EastEnders audience would follow. He did Strictly and hoped the Strictly audience would follow, and the same with Bridgerton, with constant references to
and the drag queen,
and the drag queen with that ridiculous American baldy bloke, and that's the one. And every single time it fell on its arse, every single time. But because they've done series 2 at the same time, there's probably going to be examples of that again. He'll be trying to draw off support from other series somewhere. He'll stitch it in, and it'll fail again because, you know, doing 2 series together, there's no time to turn the boat, is there? It's just going to be going the same route.
Yes, because they won't. I mean, they would all have thought this is going to be a huge success. We've spoken about that. We've seen their attitudes in various interviews that we include on headlines. We've included some on these reviews over the last few weeks. This is going to be more of the same from Christmas onwards. And one of the things we'll be doing here as we do this is we're going to move forward. We will be comparing the next set of episodes to this series, of course, to see if there are any adjustments. I don't think they can. I don't even think they can go back and remount things and reshoot things now, because they're out of production. If Doctor Who's currently out of production again as it goes on its rest, and the next thing comes back in. Ncuti's gone off to do other stuff. Millie's left, gone off to other stuff. Radha Setu will be doing other stuff, the new companion, because they've got a well to live in. I would imagine, allegedly, everything's alleged, of course. Thomas Jobling is with us. Hello, it's nice to see you. If God's good and Ncuti left, would any actors now take on the part with RTD souring the milk of the series? Good question. Oh, I think we're back into the whole. Sorry, Ian, I was just going to say, I think we're now back into our era of the whole Paul Daniels as the Doctor.
Yeah, well, yeah.
I think they'd get an actor who was in it just to raise their profile, but they would not get the right actor, just like they haven't now and didn't before.
And the person who up for it before Ncuti won't be coming back to do it, imagine.
We'll probably also get somebody, Paul, that goes on that's either Mamonry or Panther or something like that. Do you know what I mean? To break down the bodies a little bit more. But I personally, Thomas, that's a great question as well. And you silenced us for me. That's a really good question. I don't think you're getting another one. I think this is it. I think this is the last version of the Doctor you're going to get. They're going to peddle it out for as much as they can. And I genuinely believe, because the British public aren't there, because the majority of fandom aren't there, because they are, as we're highlighting in this show, aiming this at a minority of very loud people. This is it. This is the end. I give it, excluding series 2, a series 3, I think that's it.
Yeah, 2026 will be the last year.
Possibly 27.
Maybe.
But I think this is it. I mean, this is it here. Look, I've heard Alan Carr is in the spin-off, says Domgo. That's exactly what I'm talking about. That's where we're at now. We're at this sort of thing where even the press is going to have a field day. If there is going to be another Doctor Who, can you imagine? They will have a field day with all these ridiculous names they'll put forward. People from Love Island, like you guys were saying earlier. People from Big Brother, because that's still going on now. People from the light entertainment industry. Not that there's anything wrong with that if they can act. But it's going to get... It's going to get...
If the whole Gatwa thing was series 1, start off afresh, why is this spin-off drawing from Pertwee? You know, why?
Yeah.
You're going to require knowledge of that and of Peter Davison's era, because you're not going to pick anything up from Whittaker's era. But even Whittaker's era is too off limits for this. This was series 1. You do not need any prior knowledge. Everything else does not matter. His own words.
And yet
there'll be a disclaimer at the end of the episode of the spin-off saying, if you haven't followed this, go into the iPlay and watch Sea Devils, Silurians, and Warriors of the Deep just to catch up. Yeah.
I dread to think what they'll do to you now. I mean, I think it could be absolutely horrific.
Well, they already have done, haven't they? Really, to be honest.
Yeah, they have, but I think it could. I think it could get worse. I think.
I totally think it's going to get worse. Yeah. I think the writing will be lax, because don't forget he's been writing those eight episodes, the Tenant 3, the Christmas one. He has said in pressure to certain people, and we all know who they are, saying there's not enough diversity in the writing forms, in the writing team. He has said that that's to come. So maybe he hasn't written all 8 again of the next series. Maybe he didn't write all of the spin-off. And talking of which, Simon L saying to us here, the spin-off has already been filmed. It was listed in March on a site that has current production films and TV series going on. The site and production list is a site to contact head production. I'm aware of that one as well, but they've said, Russell and Bad Wolf have said, no, it's not yet been filmed. So the listing details, Simon, that I'm aware of that, but it only says things that are going into production. That's where all the rumors came from, where everybody was going, oh, it's a Sea Devil series, it's a Sea Devil series, brother, because it was listed there. That's where the name came from. That's how they got it through. But I've been reliably informed that the thing is going into filming this summer.
So do we know who this series is aimed at? Is it the same demographic we talked about earlier?
Same demographic as watching the thing now.
Or is it going to be like Torchwood, will have sexy sea devils and stuff like that? Yeah,
I have no idea. To be honest, I'm not that interested. But they couldn't have filmed it already because they've only just filmed series 2 of Doctor Who. They finished a few weeks ago, didn't they? They closed Doctor Who down a few weeks back with the Rat Party. It's the same team that's done Doctor Who that's producing the Sea Devil spin-off. So they couldn't have done it at the same time. No, it's all on the way. But I know that.
It's like they run out of ideas and then they just ruin things. Like, I'm sorry, but I felt the last series, Torchwood, was not great at all.
That was awful, yeah.
And that was a shame because I thought that was an excellent series. I loved it. And then they ruined it. It's like they just run out of steam, and rather than saying I've run out of steam, that's quite natural, to lose my way in a project, and now someone new should come in and jazz it up and do it in a better way because they've got new ideas and fresh ideas, and that's a good thing. It's like he can't do that. It's like he has to destroy it rather than fix it.
Sorry, Stephen.
Yeah, I mean, it's thank you, Stephen, for that one. It is sad that we're at this sad position now, Jodie, aren't we? Where we've actually got the guy that
resurrected it.
Yes, but he's now shown his true colours. And as we said on our shows and our review shows, had he done this in 2005, the show would not be here today.
No,
it would have been rejected completely. But for some reason, he feels safer doing it now. Oh, because he's more angry now. I don't know.
Midlife crisis, I think.
Yeah. Thank you again to everybody that's in the chat. Really great to see you all. You've been really busy tonight. I want to say hello and welcome to Heat Sinker as well. Thank you for joining us. Nice to see you. He's looking for live action versions of Paul McGann, Doctor. The problem is it's too late now, I think, for anything to do with Paul McGann. And as I said before, why would you bring back an older Doctor who's going to be more popular than your current one?
Yeah.
Because I actually think people would watch Paul McGann's Doctor Who.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It
they
would still
definitely
be
would.
written by a bunch of very, very strange people. Let's put it that way. But I think Paul McGann would be able to try and elevate it. I would hate to see him in that sort of script, to be quite honest. But I reckon more of us would come back to watch Paul McGann than watching Ncuti Gatwa. And then that would open a huge can of worms because we'd be more risks and phobes and odds, wouldn't we?
Paul
They can
McGann did
actually
more in
act.
6 minutes on Night of the Doctor than Ncuti's done an entire series.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually,
true.
let's be honest. They could pick any one of the McGann brothers, and
yeah.
they would be fabulous.
Yeah.
Yeah. Austin is also saying to us here, I'd watch Dr. 8 in a bad script. And then goes on to say, I've done it before. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. But I do think a lot of people would. I really do think a lot of people would watch Dr. 8 in a different series. And I think it would be far more popular than what's
Than
going
this
on
nonsense.
now.
Yeah.
I mean, you could even do a 90-minute television movie with the 8th Doctor in it. And I think it would be more popular. I think it would get higher ratings than any one of these episodes this season.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the public would watch it because it's Paul McGann. That's the other thing I wanted to talk about. That's the other reason I don't think the public came back to this, because he was building on what Chibnall's done, which shed the audience, because the publicity wasn't aimed at the old gammons that pay for BBC One, and actually more at the TikTok generation that live through Instagram or whatever. I reckon as well that because Ncuti Gatwa wasn't a known actor, I think the public may have lost patience with that approach. I think had they gone for a name and decent scripts, it might have been a success. Had they gone for a Paul McGann type name, a Christopher Eccleston type name, maybe it may have worked, but it would have had different scripts as well.
I think they overestimated David Tennant's popularity as well.
Oh,
they
didn't they just?
Oh, yeah.
Didn't they? And they can't ever do that one now after this week. Again, thank you to the chat for your super chat. Bring Rowan Atkinson back. Do you know what I'm going to say right now? I'd rather watch him.
Well, in the Curse of Fatal Death, he was a better Doctor than Ncuti was. That's for sure.
Rowan Atkinson in The Curse of Fatal Death, which is one of the most hated things in my life. I can't stand that in Dimensions in Time. Can't stand it because I don't like spoofs, which sadly it's become.
Dimensions in Time is not a spoof. How dare you?
Oh, please get off this show. No, but I hate that show. But no, Rowan Atkinson was brilliant in it because he actually understood and treated the Doctor with respect. You know, it wasn't the comic that we know Rowan Atkinson to be. It was the actor. And that's the only thing about The Curse of Fate. And then they bumped him off because Moffat wanted to do all that. Oh, look, the Doctor regenerates to remind the public that he regenerates. Such a waste. I would have liked to have seen those extra elements of Atkinson being in there because he just... I actually remember watching that on that awful night going, actually, he's quite good. I quite like this. I hate the script. I hate what's going on, but he got it.
We nearly had him as Voldemort, JT.
Sorry?
We nearly had him as Voldemort at one point, JT.
We did. But thank God we got Rafe. There's still time because it's coming back. Oh, let's have a look and see what else they're saying in the chat. This has been a great show. Don't forget that here on Who's Views, for all of you, we are here to take all your views. And hopefully with this show as well, you've taken advantage of our usual Who's Views service. Well, listen, we have gone on an awful lot in this very therapeutic, I hope, version of Who's Views. We've been looking back at Disney Who Series 1. Oh, God. In a few minutes, everybody, I'm going to be asking the Whotastic panel if you want to join in for their scores on the TARDIS doors. But first, before we get to that, where are we going next with it? Well, of course, it's Christmas. And this is the companion, of course, for the next episode, which is called Joy to the World. So that's on the way. A lot of us will know this young lady from Derry Girls. We're going to talk more about that as we get nearer to it. There's going to be a lot coming up, I'm sure, in headlines, and we will be looking at that version of this particular series. Can you see I am exhausted? It's just so tiring, isn't it? Absolutely tiring. Right now, though, first question I'm going to ask you, Whotastic panel, was this series worthy of that logo? I'm going to start with Third Doctor Ian. All I want is a yes or a no. Was this version of Doctor Who worthy of the beloved, iconic diamond logo? Yes or no?
No. No.
Paul?
No.
Kirst?
Nope.
Jode?
No.
JT?
I'm going to
Yeah, what
say
about
no
you?
as well. Absolutely not worthy of that logo. And what a shame. What a shame. I would have rather it would have had its own logo completely and utterly. What a load of old poo. Let's have a look here. We are going to go to the scores and the TARDIS stores in a minute. Is anybody else saying anything here? Oh, you're all talking about the curse of... I hate talking about the curse of fatal death. Oh, Lynn is saying no. Rick is saying no. Melanie saying no. And Paul Holgate's saying no. So that's the questions I'm asking you there. Austin is also saying nay. All right, then. So we're going to go from there. How badly will Christmas do after this disaster? Well, we don't know, do we? It's all going to come through. We'll be looking at that. It's going to be very interesting. Paul Richard is saying no, that's not worthy. Oh, 21st Century Boys saying no. Duck Soup Productions is saying no score for this series because whatever. Is that leaving us hanging on there? Legion of James, nice to see you. No. The chat is saying no. Neil is saying no. Richard is saying the logo was bait and switch. No, not at all worthy. Gosh. Matt 532, no. Eric Murphy, no. Lisa, no. Look at this, everybody. Julianne is saying no. Charles is saying no. Who's Lost Eyes is saying they took an iconic logo and turned it into a plasticky block that looks like a fast food logo. Looks nice when it's lit up, though. Stephen Braddock, no. Garbage, no. C, hello, nice to see you. Welcome to Who's Views. I bought the logo to add to a cap. It's still in the bag. I sent mine back. The beanie at the specials last year, I cancelled the order. Double no, says the chat. Thank you very much. I'm going all critical drinker, says Moriarty on that one, so I don't care. And Marjorie is saying, oh my goodness, Marjorie is saying absolutely not. It doesn't deserve it, not even in the 80s theme. Never in a million years, says Graham. Julia is saying no. Oh my goodness, what a pointless question. I know, but I wanted to ask it. Paul is saying no. Neville is saying categorically not. You're all there. Peter Venkman is saying, Lord, no. Charles, not worthy. Oh my goodness, look at them all. They're all here. Not even worthy of Seven's logo, says Matt532. My goodness me, that's desperate. Right, we're going to get to now. Scores on the TARDIS stores. Out of 10, we want to know your scores for the entire series, all 8 episodes of this version of Doctor Who. Out of 10, I'm going to be coming back to the panel in just a second. Let's run the title. Right, so yeah, it was a big series. I want to say a huge thank you to everybody that joined us for our reviews. Stay with us. We've got more coming back. And I can tell you as well that we are going to be returning to proper Doctor Who. We're returning to start with John Pertwee's era. Keep tuned to the channel this week. We're going to let you know which story we're going to be looking at in the community tab on here on the channel. All right, I'm going to start then with scores out of the TARDIS stores. It's out of 10 for the entire series. Third Doctor, Ian, what are you going to give it?
The series gave me nothing, so I'm going to return the favour. 0.
0 from Third Doctor Ian for the entire series of 8 episodes, the most expensive Doctor Who to date. Paul, we're going to go straight to you. What are you going to give it out of 10?
Can I just go quickly back to the logo? That was the best thing they did because it looks beautiful when you see it on its own, away from the series. But
well done to Bernard. Well done to Bernard from all those years ago.
Well done for Bernard for that. But it looks really nice.
Cheers,
I was going to watch these again, but I couldn't stomach it, so I didn't, to get myself a reminder of what went on. But I can't remember. It's so so crap. So I was trying to think about how many points I gave it over the episodes. So I'm going to give it 3.
Well, 3 for the entire series, the most expensive Doctor Who series to date, from Paul. Kirsty, lady of the chat, out of 10, what are you giving this new version of Doctor Who?
4 for my babe Millie.
4 from Kirsty for that.
And that's just for my babe Millie.
Gosh, currently we're up to 7 out of 50. Jode, what are you going to give this version of Doctor Who out of 10?
Well, I felt I tried to be optimistic through the series and give it reasonably good scores, and now I just feel guilty because I feel like I've voted for the death of Doctor Who. So I'm going to go, I'm afraid, with 0. I'm sorry. I just could weep.
Don't apologize at all. Wow. My turn. What a load of old nonsense this was. I cannot believe that I wasted all those hours on watching this for a version. As I've said to you throughout the show, I can't remember. It didn't have any impact on me. I haven't retained the information of the show. It is not one I'm going to go back and watch under any circumstance. It will never see the light of day in my collection here, because to me, it wasn't Doctor Who. Not only was it not worthy of the logo, I thought it was some of the most incredibly embarrassing, excruciatingly message-driven, lazy television I've seen in my life. It gets a 0. Not worth the effort. So out of 50, the first series of RTD's brand new version of Disney Doctor Who gets 7 points from the Who-tastic panel. Let's go to the chat, everybody. We will be wrapping up soon, so get your marks in very soon. Lex is giving it 2 just for Millie. Mel, Doctor Who voiced the trailer of Usa Sotek, an actor who played Prime Minister with 73 yards. He should have been the Doctor. That was Anir and Bernard. Gatwa and RTD, you have killed Doctor Who. 2 out of 10. Not worthy at all of that logo, says Terry Tees. The chat, 0. Now, Dog Olv is giving it 9 out of 10. Thank you very much for that. Thank you. So that's the first 9 we're going to get here. Nice to see you. Thanks for coming and talking, giving your points there. Lovely. I'm glad you enjoed it. I'm really glad you enjoyed it. Yeah. Good for you. 00 says the chat. Knock that off. You get me confused. It's so funny. 0 says Steve Hindley. 0 out of 10 says Graham. Totally worthless. I will never watch any of these ever again. 2.73 says Paul Ashworth. I don't tell anyone I'm a fan now, says Richard. 2 out of 10.
Back to that again.
Yeah. John is saying to us here, 2 out of 10. I'm being very kind. Bill, nice to see you, Bill Lowry. 0. Proper programming will resume. It will, with us returning to proper Doctor Who with our Pertwee review. We're going to be celebrating what would have been his birthday with a review. 0 out of 10 with Sean. Otter Tripe, 0 out of 10 says Paul Richards. Problem being, Lee is saying to us minus infinity for all of it. Terry Tees is saying series score 2 out of 10. That's being generous. XSM is dealing 0. It was absolute pants. And Brian Mason is saying to us here 2 for Millie Gibson. Paul Holgate is saying minus infinite, and Divining Dragon is giving it a 0, and that's an insult to zeros everywhere. Peter Venkman is saying to us, I've only been getting Classic Who on the apps. Thanks heavens for that. Brilliant. Keep an eye on our channel. We're going to let you know which one we're going to be looking at next. Andrew is saying 3 out of 10. Thank you, Andrew. Nice to see you. I'm going with big fat 0 out of 10. Matt 532 is saying 1, but only for Millie, Bonnie, and the TARDIS. C, nice to see you, saying 2 for Millie and Bonnie. Legion of James is telling us it's not worthy of a score. 1 out of 10, says Jason, 21st Century Boy. Thank you for that, mate. Let's have a look. I'm going to give it 2, says Rick, and I'm being generous for the few good moments. Julianne is giving it a 0. This is incredible, really incredible. 0, says Lisa. Oh my goodness. I hope the BBC is watching this blooming show. This is your alleged audience with us here. Come on. This is ridiculous. We are fans. You do not have our support. Austin Woods is saying 3 out of 10. 1 for Murray Gold, 3 got Millie Brown, 3 for Millie Gibson it is, and 1 for Mel. 2 for Millie, says Stephen Braddock. 2 for Bonnie, that would equal 4. Richard is saying from 0 to 0, the rating that fell to earth. That's better. Up. Bob 0 out of 10. And Lynn is saying to us here 1 point for Millie, 0.5 points for Bonnie, and 0 for miscellaneous staff who showed up and did their jobs well. Craig is with us as well. Hello, Craig Dunlop. 10. No, wait, reverse the polarity of the neutron flow, minus 10. Clever. And Charles is saying to us 3 out of 10. All points for Millie, Bonnie, and the girl who brilliantly played Lindy. Eric is saying 3. Yay, Jodie, says Lisa. with your your friend there.
Sorry.
Don't
We
worry
need
about
to know the puppy score.
the puppy score, 0.
Mm,
Is it a
0
zero as well?
Andrew
I
is
think
saying
so.
to 3 out of 10, it should also be rainbow logo. Oh, don't start on that one. Duck Super saying it's not Doctor Who, so no score. Fair enough. Hartnell's Ghost is saying 1 out of 10 for Millie and 73 yards. And the chat again, thank you for your super chat. It's a trick question because this wasn't Doctor Who. It really wasn't, was it? What's this as well? Austin says Jodie never got above 1.5 out of 10. Well, we didn't review it. We went around to you, and we're never going to be looking at those episodes, I'm afraid. What have we got here? 1 for Millie, 1 for Bonnie, 1 for the TARDIS. The series was a disgrace, says Marjorie. XSM is agreeing with most of us, never going back to watch a single episode. And Gilliam is saying to us here, 1, just for the awesome logo. Melanie Weston investigates 3 out of 10 for Melly and Mel and the 73 yards idea. What a waste of time. Where did all the money go? Says Daryl Joyce. Thank you, Daryl. I'm giving it a 0. Wow. Any more for any more here, everybody? Thank you for all your chat. If you've got any more, pop it into the chat now. Neil is there. 4 out of 10. Thank you, Neil. Thank you very, very much. He obviously enjoyed some of it. That's great. Neville is giving it 3. And Domgo is saying it was complete cobblers. There's a sign. I've not heard for a long time. Cobblers. Anthony Parker says 7 too many. Oh, okay. What else? Have we got any more for any more? Yes, the Lady Knightsbridge is saying to us here 2 out of 10. I didn't see Boom or Space Babies, which is probably just as well. Or it might have scored even lower. And Doglove is saying it's not a slip. I generally love this series. Good for you. I'm pleased that you've got there. I understand you're a minority.
Thank God someone did.
Yeah, but it's good.
No criticism from us.
Yeah, absolutely. So well done, you. And no, we know it's not a slip.
Tell
Thank
us what you liked about it. I'm interested to know. So
there you go. And Dalek, I love you. 0 out of 10, but he hasn't watched it. He's just getting it all from us. That's probably
No, you need to suffer like us.
Yeah. I wouldn't recommend it though. I really wouldn't. Legion of James is saying Chibnall killed Doctor Who and RTT returned to defile the corpse. Not going to argue. And the other Ibrahim, nice to see you. Welcome back. 0 for the whole series. 9 out of 10 for Millie. Ooh, I wonder why. And N Spiel, nice to see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. 2 out of 10. 1 point for Millie and 1 point for the TARDIS. Wow. And Julia is saying the best part of the new series was finding like-minded people at Who's Views. Thank you all for lifting my spirits after Doctor Who have put me in the pits of hell. The panel has been brilliant. Haven't they just? Absolutely fantastic, and got through 8 of the most excruciatingly bad pieces of television I've witnessed in my entire life. So well done to the panel. Thank you very much for joining me on that. Really, really, really appreciate it. I want to say a huge thank you to everybody that has joined us. We have built up what I think is an absolutely fantastic little community here. And it's always a joy to come and talk to you and to get all your opinions and everything. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. 9 out of 10 for Bonnie, says other Ibrahim. I'm with that one as well, to be honest. And Graham is asking, is Carry On Cleo coming soon? Yes, it is. Yeah, our review of Carry On Cleo. Keep watching the channel. We'll all appear for you on the show page. He's given the series, though, a 0. The ratings did a nosedive. Yeah, if you're tuning into our headline shows, you can see that Bedouia comes along every now and then and gives us the ratings updates. We are going to be continuing that. So that's all good to see. So thank you for that. Nice to see K9. I missed that one. Was that the big thing on top of the TARDIS? No. And Sutek made a cameo. He really did. I've told you on the shows I was dreading him coming into it. I knew it would happen at some point, and I knew they'd really ruin him. What we got here? John Mason is saying 0. It's Jodie. Love pets on Zoom.
Sorry.
don't apologise. It was lovely.
Never apologise to dogs. Never ever.
Yeah, it's just my family though. That's the only job they have.
Nathan Ad-Olarink is saying it was a travesty. 0. And Enspiel is also telling us I'm going to cancel my order for the series Steelbook if you haven't done it already. Yeah, because it's so hugely expensive. Or wait until they come down. I know these things.
You'll get really for a £5 easily if you really want to.
Yeah, I'm sure there's going to be people there.
About a week after it comes out.
Yeah,
they'll probably be at B&M.
You never know, do you? Thank you to James Davis for joining us as well. What happened to the TARDIS? Wilda and Clara Oswald took when they left Capaldi's in the diner. No idea. at this really point, I can't even say I care, to be honest. But you're right. There was
Could we
another
get
one
Ben
around.
Weir to do a chart rating for the box set that comes out? That'd be great.
Well, I'll try and get the figures, but as I say, a lot of these things now you just can't get without paying a huge amount of money for some reason these days. So I don't know. The Monoworth is saying 8 out of 10. I loved Dot and Bubble and Boom, loved Millie and Ncuti, really had fun, and that's what matters. Absolutely. If you enjoyed it, thank you so much for that. 8 out of 10. It's still one of our lowest rated shows ever, though, on this channel. But I'm glad you enjoyed it. I'm glad you got something out of it. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Peter Venkman fansite is saying you couldn't get me to sit through it for a 5-second clip cameo of Tom Baker. And Warflare is saying to us here, I watched out of morbid curiosity. I used to turn the volume up when the Who music started. I turned the volume down after episode 1 as I was scared people might think I bat for the other side. Well, that's terrible. You can't say that. That's awful. What else we got? Where else we got? Any more when it comes to scores on the TARDIS doors? Len looks back is saying to us here, great to hear how happy the Who's Views team is with the community they've built. Well done. Thank you very much, but well done to everybody for coming and joining in with us, because you make the shows. Thomas is saying to us here, 0 out of 10. This wasn't the Doctor I used to run home after playing footy on a Saturday afternoon to. That's the upsetting thing as well. It's the same as us. Yeah. You know? Really, really was. Oh, and that one there, Jodie, I would cry more tears than Gatwa if I watched it.
Yeah.
Me too, if I had to live it again.
Didn't we all?
And Dogolf is saying, but for the finale, I would have given it a 10. Okay. Oh, right. Hartnell's Ghost is saying to us here, thanks for another entertaining show. Cheers, all. Thank you, Hartnell's Ghost. Really appreciate that. Pets Get Views. That'll be appearing on Channel 4 at some point in the future, I am sure now. What else? Any more? No, I think I'm going to call it now. I think we've got... oh, no, Doug. Doug is here. Hello, Doug. Good morning to you. Late to the party, 5 out of 10. It looked good and led me to Who's Views. It certainly did. And thank you for all your comments this week as well, mate. Nice to see you. And I hope you're having a lovely... you're going to have a lovely day over there. The chat is still going. He's now saying it's going to be a 000. Stephen is saying to us, I haven't liked this Doctor Who, but I love Who's Views and I'm glad I'm part of it. Well, that's great. Thank you so much. And we're glad you're part of it too. And Legion of James is saying the one positive is that we do have almost all the classic era stories to continue loving.
Yeah.
It's just deeply sad that they felt the need to completely destroy such a legacy.
Yeah.
Oh, isn't it just? Well, yeah, listen, I want to say thank you very much to everybody that's been tuning in with us tonight. Really, really enjoyed hearing all your opinions. There is a lot more we could have said about that series. I am sure we didn't talk about the lack of the arcs or the lack of understanding we didn't talk about the snow. We didn't talk about whatever her name was. What was her name? Susan Twist. Yeah, Mrs. Flood. We didn't talk. There's loads we could have talked about, but we've run out of time. I want to say a huge thank you to the Whotastic panel for coming to join me for this really enjoyable show, including Emilio. Thank you, Emilio, for popping in to see us. Thank you so much to everybody that's in the chat. Thank you so much for all your super chats as well. Really, really, really appreciate all of that. Thank you so, so much. What can we say? Apart from the fact, well, we can say thank you, yeah, but what we've got to say is, do we do it again, everybody? Do we rock and roll again? I don't know. Probably. I don't know. What do you reckon?
Don't see how it could be worse.
That's what I said when it came back. That was, look at what happened. Yeah.
Do you know what, though? We do know that Joy to the World, written by Stephen Moffat, is on the way. It's going to be at Christmas. For the moment, let's not think about it. For the moment, let's get back to what I would call proper Doctor Who. Please make sure you've subscribed to the channel. Please make sure that you're still subscribed to the channel. Make sure you've rung that bell and stay watching our channel this week as we announce which of the John Pertwee stories we're going to be going back to. It would be lovely to see you all coming to join us for our tribute to the man himself, the third Doctor, on what would have been his birthday. From myself and the Whotastic panel, guys, brilliant, 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 brilliant. Thank you so much for joining us. We're going to be back very, very soon. Don't forget, Headlines will be with you through the week as well. We've got a lot planned. We've got our Carry On Cleo review coming up for you. Come and join us for all that. And yes, this month we're going to be starting our reviews of the Peter Cushing Hammer horror films. We're all very excited about that. That's all coming to you as well. We've got lots more coming up for you as we move forward to the next version of this show. What's going to happen next? Until we see you again on the channel, please like and subscribe. We'll see you again very soon. I'm going off for a cup of tea because, by God, I think we need it. Good night, everybody. Thank you so much. We'll see you again soon.
Night.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.